Ezra.
Oh, waking up and standing tall. You think this was in the green room? The music, the warm-up music for Shane Beamer and company going to the podium yesterday. I can see Greg Sankey doing that. He seems like he's got a sense of humor. You don't think so, Bill?
I think more likely it was blared throughout the plane ride over. Just well, they were just on a loop or whatever the little hour and a half trip is. Probably it. That's what would be my guess.
Amazing. The plane comes out with a harmonica right there, or maybe it's his cousin Balky all together. Welcome into a weird, perfect strangers themed morning. Hope your Tuesday morning's off to a good start. I think if you're a Gamecock fan, you might feel better today waking up than you did yesterday. Let's go ahead and check who I would assume might be the most skeptical of the four of us as we begin this morning, especially as he's looking at us with his mustache right now, and 25-year-old Patrick Perrette. What do you make of Shane Beamer at SEC Media Days yesterday? Impressed at all, or is it just talking season?
It is just talking season. I mean, I was impressed, but it's like people were drooling on Twitter, basically. And did he say anything that we haven't heard before other than his recruiting pitch to Oscar Delp? Was there anything new other than what we've been hearing for the last 6 months?
We hadn't really heard him evaluate the recruiting period, right? And then remain as confident or as I don't even know what the word is, and I don't want to overstate it this morning because Will Muschamp got really good reviews in his first SEC Media Days as a South Carolina head football coach. Almost all media members ever love Steve Spurrier at the podium and Lou Holtz before him, and it can be overblown in a lot of ways for sure. Like I don't think Eli Drinkwitz impressed anybody too much from a media standpoint. What did he say? They're going to win the Southern Conference. Isn't that what he said? He messed it up, I think, in his introductory press conference at Missouri instead of the SEC Easter. And he's done pretty well there. So today will be a tricky balance for me, Bill, to not overstate how Shane Beamer has presented South Carolina and its program. And yet, to me, it's kind of like recruiting rankings, right? They matter. But how much do they ultimately matter? And I think it can be overstated. What were your impressions yesterday, Bill, of Shane Beamer, especially at SEC Media?
I mean, I think you just have to take it for what it is, and it's an excitement for South Carolina fans. And there's no need to throw a wet blanket on it and say, it's just talk. It is just talk. And to answer Patrick's question, the thing, and we'll play clips throughout the morning. I was very interested to see how he would handle expectations, questions about expectations, about this rebuild. And I thought he gave a great answer to that because you do have a fan base that's beaten down. I mean, that's the bottom line. You have a fan base that has been just absolutely beaten down over the last 22 games. And
Patrick, you're saying that Gamecock fans have shaken it off. Good to go.
Yes.
So
they're talking about winning 8 games this year, and they were.
You got a fan base right now that's just absolutely. They need hope. They need some energy. They need some excitement. And then you've got to figure out how to balance expectations for 2021. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday in terms of being able to go out and sell the program, but at the same time, not put yourself in a position where winning 6 or 7 games, if you can somehow find a way to do that, is deemed a disappointment, because that would be a great success for them. So I like the answer to that. But I think, at the same time, South Carolina fans were excited about Shane Beamer. Ed Orgeron didn't say anything exciting, but I think LSU fans were excited just to hear their coach talk. I think Florida fans were excited to hear Dan Mullen talk. I think people are just happy and excited to see SEC Media Day again. And to be discussing right now, X's and O's and quarterback battles and excitement for the season, and not be sitting here this morning going, should they play? Are they going to play? Or, what are we going to do this year? There's a different feel to it. And I think it's just, even yesterday, watching the SEC all day, and Ryan McGee would do those little spoofs in between. We talked about the non-conference matchups. It was fun to think about Alabama and Miami, to think about Georgia and Clemson, to think about Texas A&M and Colorado and LSU and UCLA. So I just think it's part of it. Yes, Beamer was great yesterday, but I've said it since December. He was going to win the offseason. That was going to happen. He's charismatic. He's excited to have the job. He's almost a complete 180 from the previous regime. He was going to win the offseason. But I think more what it is, guys, and I think y'all are the same boat. You're excited to be able to talk college football and to see that it's actually going to happen this year, and we're going to have full stadiums and so forth and so on.
Yeah, I don't think it's a wet blanket. Like I just didn't think that there was any reason to be parading around like South Carolina accomplished something yesterday. I mean, it was just a press conference, and he did a good job. Like this is why we love Shane Beamer. So it's just like this is no different than what we saw at the press conference. He's energetic. He's exactly the right guy for the job. I thought all three coaches yesterday that talked in exactly the tone that their fan bases probably expected and wanted. Like Ed Orgeron was more serious than he's usually or maybe ever been, because his job is the most on the line of those three guys. His fan base doesn't want to hear anything but all business, and this is what we've got cooking this year. We're going to be a good team. And then Dan Mullen was able to get a little sarcastic and just be fun because Florida's in a good place, and he's built up some good credit there. And Shane Beamer, obviously, I mean, it was more of an introduction to him for everyone else. So everyone else is talking about him because they haven't necessarily heard it, even though I think his press conference, his initial introductory press conference did kind of go viral. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome. He crushed it. But we knew that because he's a great speaker. He's energetic, and he's exactly what we need right now. But so I just didn't think that there was anything new that was uncovered yesterday.
Well, that last part to me, Patrick, was what I was most interested in from Shane Beamer's perspective. The other perspective, the perspective of him, the reception of him, and what he showed to me, and what you're talking about that Ed Orgeron and Dan Mullen also showed yesterday, just kind of self-awareness. When you get the question, Bill, of expectation, that's a tough one for a first-year coach taking over a program that's lost a combined 16 games in the last 2 years. And you mentioned how previous Gamecock coaches yesterday had approached it, with Steve Spurrier saying just want to win a bowl game. Will Muschamp saying I'm the coach of a 3-9 football team from the year before, and just trying to get better in the whole thing. I thought how Shane Beamer admitted that it's a cliche. It's a coaching cliche thing to just try to get better and better, but then also put that out there. To me, it shows me that he's a first-year head coach, but I think he's a lot savvier, a lot well beyond his years or experience level when it comes to dealing with questions that could be a little trickier for maybe more X's and O's driven guys, or just less aware guys is probably the best way to put it. Not that Shane Beamer isn't X's and O's driven. He just doesn't have that reputation from those of us outside of football. And to me, that was the impressive part, or part of the impressive part yesterday. It's not easy to be well received by a grizzled group, and then this year, I think there is a little extra appreciation that you talked about, Bill, just for having this event at all in person. You know, this is the first time that any media nerds that I know of have been able to be in person with NCAA coaches right now back in the old press conference setting. I think even during that College World Series, the last sporting event that we had in the last calendar year for sports, it didn't happen in the way that it's happening today. We'll talk to Heath Klein, who's live on the ground there, and get his thoughts a little bit later on in the show. I think he's going to do a little all-day radio this morning for us over in Birmingham and see kind of what the vibe is, because that, to me, Bill, is a part of this unique environment that I think we all think is going to lead to quite the celebration of football once things really kick off in a couple of 6 weeks now or so, September 4th for the Gamecocks against Eastern Illinois.
Yeah, I do. I think that there is just a level of excitement today, by the way, just to give you the schedule. All times are Eastern. There we go. So Georgia and Kirby Smart will go at 10 o'clock this morning. Josh Heupel at 11:30. Mark Stoops will go at about 2:30 this afternoon, and closing the day up will be Lane Kiffin. And Patrick, I think what I'll be interested to hear your opinion tomorrow, and I don't know how he'll do today, but to compare Josh Heupel
Yeah.
to Shane Beamer, because from what I've seen, not that I think Josh Heupel is some bum or dud up there, but I haven't seen interviews where Josh Heupel exudes the same kind of just enthusiasm and charisma.
He's
And
not
so
charming.
it will be interesting to come back tomorrow and hear kind of what you got to say. Because I am interested to hear Josh Heupel today. I'm actually interested to hear Smart and Heupel and Lane Kiffin. Mark Stoops is just. I mean, I think Mark Stoops is a good coach. I just at 2:30, I might not be fully invested in that one watching on television. But Lane Kiffin, I'm sure is going to be entertaining and I guess charming is the word you just used. Kirby Smart will give his best Nick Saban impression at 10 o'clock this morning. But I will be interested to hear when you talk about another first-year head coach in Josh Heupel, who's facing a similar situation to what Shane Beamer's got. You've got just a lot of discord up there in Knoxville. You've had a ton of transfers. You've had all kinds of issues. And what is he doing to sell that fan base that he's the guy that can bring them back and make them competitive? So I think it'll be interesting, tomorrow morning when we open up to look back at today and compare the Josh Heupel press conference versus the Shane Beamer press conference with those two new guys. Now, obviously, Lane Kiffin, I think Lane Kiffin will be the guy that steals the show today. You guys agree with that? Lane Kiffin will be the one that he's going to be excited to be back.
I mean, yeah, probably. But he's not going to come in with like some crazy energy. He's just going to probably make some very sarcastic comments that are going to be quoted and tweeted out and probably go viral on Twitter today. But what you were saying about Tennessee is selling it to the fans. Like, that's what's weird about the media days is like Shane Beamer wasn't selling anything to South Carolina fans yesterday. South Carolina fans knew that they made the right hire the day that he was introduced. Everyone was sold that day. I don't really know. I didn't watch Josh Heupel's introductory press conference for Tennessee, but it doesn't feel like Tennessee feels the same way. And I mean, they've lost their entire roster basically. So I don't know what his mission is today. Who is he? Who is he making his pitch to the Tennessee fans? Like, they should have heard enough from him already, right? I kind of look at this as your message to the rest of the conference or the rest of the country rather than your own fan base.
Yeah, and maybe I'm saying it. Maybe like you just said, I'm saying it incorrectly when I say you to your fan base. I mean, Shane Beamer yesterday was more of the I guess the national media landscape. Although, again, not that I've paid a ton of attention, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn here on this, but I don't remember Josh Heupel being on Paul Feinbaum like we've seen Beamer do. And I think Shane has some connections with some of the younger ESPN guys he was cutting up yesterday. Right as we went off air, I just happened to turn around and you got Peter Burns and Chris Doering who are doing, like a wake up. I guess they do every morning. Yeah. They never actually flipped over, but they were doing their show from the ballroom there, and they had Beamer on via the phone. And so that was his first appearance, I guess you would say, even though he was doing it over the phone. That was his first appearance yesterday morning, bright and early with Doering and Peter Burns, and he's cutting up with Peter Burns because they're good friends. I don't think Josh Heupel has that relationship, and it will be interesting because to me, South Carolina and Tennessee are two teams right now that are very, very close to one another, and that it's kind of a fight between those two teams right now to reestablish themselves with Kentucky and Missouri.
Well, the backgrounds too of both first-year head coaches in the SEC couldn't be much different between Josh Heupel and Shane Beamer. First of all, as a player, Heupel almost winning the Heisman Trophy back as an Oklahoma quarterback, and Beamer walking on and being mostly a special teamer for his dad. Then as a coach, Heupel has the reputation of being an offensive X's and O's guy. And he's already been a head coach, took over for Scott Frost at Central Florida, and the trajectory didn't go in the right direction as well. And now he takes over a program. Say what you want about South Carolina. Obviously, Will Muschamp in the end of his tenure didn't go well. The end of the Steve Spurrier era didn't end well either. But as far as coaching stability, Gamecocks, pretty much anybody compared to Tennessee lately, is a rock-solid foundation compared to the roller coaster that has been going on at Rocky Top. So it's a completely different environment, but I'm with you. I think those two guys are going to be compared to each other throughout their tenures at their respective jobs, fairly or unfairly. I think Shane Beamer comes into a much more steady, foundational job, situation, environment than Josh Heupel does in a lot of different ways. And you mentioned the flux and the turnover and the roster. I know that Beamer was on with some Knoxville guys yesterday, and he was asked specifically, what about your roster? Because at Tennessee, 39 guys, I think, left the program in the transition between Jeremy Pruitt and Josh Heupel. And he mentioned that they had some roster turnover, but they also took advantage of bringing guys in. And I think the number is more like 10 out and 10 in from a transfer situation from Shane Beamer. So those two jobs, Tennessee and South Carolina, those two head coaches and Shane Beamer and Josh Heupel are going to be compared to each other. And I feel like the fan bases will point first there if there are complaints or if there are the thumping of the chest and some bragging rights. And then they'll move on to the rest of the SEC or other national comparisons, maybe of guys who got jobs at the same time or similar programs. 803-404-6100 is the number into this program. You can call or text. You can also hit us up on the video stream. DC, Chris, David, Carlton, and John all up with us this morning on the various video streams, YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitter as well. Glad you're a part of the show, however you're doing it, and would love to hear your thoughts this morning as we continue to talk a bunch of college football. And did you see how much money Mark Emmert made? Well, just last year, another headline for college sports, and a guy that we talked a lot about who came out last week and said, we need to restructure this whole NCAA thing, or maybe not even worry about us and everything. And he makes almost $3 million in the middle of a downturned sports economy for sure, and pandemic. Crazy to think about. So we've got lots to discuss this morning. And again, we'll let you hear the best of Shane Beamer from yesterday's SEC Media Days. Keith Klein will join us live a little later on the show as well to give you that bird's eye on the ground view of what's going on in Birmingham. You're listening to the early game. It's 107.5.
All right. Coffee time.
It's freezing. My thermostat set to 69. What are we, made of money?
You complaining about the thermostat, Patrick?
It was set to 69.
Wow.
In this economy?
Green team. If you're in a wreck, you have enough to deal with these days. We're here to help.
Jen, did you find that audio?
I did.
Cool.
Progressive's home Ford Explorer is changing the way you buy insurance. Now you can go online, get a custom quote every time, and learn more at progressive.com.
David, that's where you keep your thermostat at? First of all, that's way too cold. Second of all, can't be paying to cool the house that low.
What is the thermostat number right now for you?
It was at 69.
Yeah, it's that. And I feel like I keep mine on 71 at night. Now, like as I got up, I just cut it up to 75 or something.
That's what I just did. I just turned it off and cranked it up to 75.
Yeah. But at night, I have it on 71 or 72, depending on whatever I do. I need actually,
Chris, 75. And what, 68 in the winter?
You keep yours on 68 in the winter?
I think so. I think that's about right. What do you put it on?
I don't, you know, I don't, I probably hover right around 70 or 71. It depends. This place is real weird. The downstairs, because the downstairs doesn't get a lot of sunlight. I could actually have during the summer, I could actually have the thermostat on 78, and I've done this, and you actually have to use a blanket downstairs because of just how the living room is with the sun. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, so my energy bill this past month was $261.
Hmm.
That's no bueno. But anyway,
Jen would like to do number 4 after I do a little liner.
Okay.
And then we'll probably get to number 7 pretty quickly as well.
All right.
I say that as I'm thinking now about that, my kids have been here all summer, so Austin's been on the PlayStation, so that alone is probably $100.
Does that add up like that?
Huh?
Okay.
I don't think it'd be that bad.
Does playing video games actually like substantially add to?
I don't know. I mean, I would assume that your air conditioner or air heating and air unit is what drives the majority, but I don't know. You didn't grow up in a house where someone was yelling at you for leaving lights on?
Steve David is
Kind of.
getting the 18th birthday celebration, getting to control the thermostat. finally.
Well, our unit is so small, it is really loud. Like it's working way too hard to cool this house down. But 69 is just, come on.
$800. Ooh.
Yeah.
I haven't had $800 ever.
Yeah, 261 is probably about right for the summertime. Like I said, the kids have been here. Ansley's always got at least 2 TVs going, you know, just because apparently if she's downstairs, she wants the downstairs TV on, but if she goes up to her room, she wants to be able to walk in and it's automatically on.
She watches Dad on, during the week. It's like, well, you've got monitors and TVs going, and
Yeah, we've exhausted the. Oh, looks like it's raining again. Is it gonna be a rainy day, Jen? Is that all it is today? Is rain?
yeah, off and on the
So
storms this
strange.
afternoon.
You guys have any problems hearing me there in that first segment?
Nope.
No, it
Kind
picked
of
up
burped
sort
once,
of
but
towards the end of the segment, but it was fun.
all right, liner than 4. That's right.
By the game Twin Peaks, giving you a chance to speak your mind whenever you feel like it. Our hot take hotline there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call 803-978-6654 if you need to vent. It's sponsored by Twin Peaks for the men who never settle. We'll see you down in the Vista at 600 Gervais Street. Might get you a little bit of a message that we got from Confident Game.
Rolling along on
As it pertains to the
Tuesday
Georgia
morning,
matchup.
we've
That one
lost 10
coming in
first, second
yesterday.
teams. That team
Coming in
actually
hot,
is
too.
where we're
I
at.
loved it.
Rolling along
That's
here
what the
on
hot take
Tuesday
hotline
morning.
is for.
He's making
Go
a great
shake
point
his head
over
over
there
it.
on the live stream. He's giggling, he's laughing, he's having a blast down there, and so we keep you going here Tuesday morning. SEC Media Day rolling right along. Yesterday, Shane Beamer meeting with the media. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
tight end position, that's a position that's near and dear to me, something that I've coached for the last 5 years in my career. We are always going to utilize the tight end. Every donor or booster club event that I go to, that's the one question I get asked: are you going to throw the tight end? We are going to throw to the tight end. We want the premier tight ends in America, and that's the way that we're recruiting right now as well, to go get those guys as well. We've utilized those guys in the past when I've been at Oklahoma, and we will continue to.
Interesting to hear him say that, Patrick. I do think that while that was certainly a recruiting pitch to one Oscar Dell, I also think when you talk about this football team in 2021 and you look at Nick Muse, Jaheim Bell is a guy that he has talked about. I don't know how you classify him. I believe they're classifying E.J. Jenkins as a tight end. Eric Shaw is another guy that they've been very high on, or at least the previous staff was. When we talk about this team and the offense and having success, I think it goes without saying that Nick Muse needs to have a good year. He was a guy that connected with Luke Doty at the end of last year. If you go back, there's been some highlights, I believe, on YouTube that I'm going back and watch where those two seem to have developed a pretty good chemistry. And, you know, I there's no doubt in my mind that some of what Shane Beamer was saying yesterday was a little bit of that recruiting pitch to Delp, but I think it's also just a simple fact that this year South Carolina's got to run the football. There's no doubt about that with Kevin Harris and Marshawn Lloyd and Zaquandre White. But the tight ends are going to have to be, I think, more of the primary pass catchers when it comes to the passing game as opposed to the wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's going to be more out of necessity than preference, I think, because there's no one there at the wide receiver position that you're going to look at and say, yeah, we could rely on them to catch, 5 balls a night. Nick Muse is the only person that you can comfortably say will catch at least, I don't know, what's a conservative estimate, 40 balls this year? The expectations are not going to be high for really anyone in the receiving corps at this point, but it's going to be, you're going to run the football and you're going to take easy completions down the middle. Nick Muse can get open. He's got a little wiggle to him. He can make guys miss, and he has the ball in his hand. So, he's your only reliable pass catcher at this point. And I don't know what Jim Beamer's mentioned Jaheim Bell a couple times. I don't know if it's just because he had a prior relationship to him. He was one of the few guys that he on this team that he recruited Oklahoma. But, we also saw him running the football in the spring game. So I think you can kind of guess that he's going to be fairly involved, and they're going to want to get the ball in his hands some way. So, I expect the tight end to be used a lot. Maybe they'll – again, Satterfield said that they're not married to anything really. He's not going to come in here and say we're going 5 wide on every play. Like, if your best players are tight ends, we can kind of predict that the tight ends are going to be on the field a lot. So, that's my expectation. But it's more like kind of a bummer that you just don't have any wide receivers that you can look at and say, yeah, that's a guy right there.
Well, they're going to have to step up. There's no doubt about that. Maybe one of them does. That'll be the question as we go through the first month of the season. Is a guy stepping up and being a reliable guy? Shi Smith was a guy that last year going into the season, you and Tim thought he needed to step up, that you had not seen the consistent proven production from him. And certainly I think he had a season that far exceeded anybody's expectations going in. And maybe somebody does that. Maybe they do stuff. Maybe the Kerryon Joyner has developed to the point that he becomes a reliable. Maybe Jalen Brooks, who did play a little bit better in the final 2 games, becomes a guy that is able to hang on to the majority of his passes. Amarion Brown, you would probably say, Patrick, as far as college production, the Georgia Tech transfer has the most production out of any wide receiver out there. Ortre Smith is back, and how healthy is he? Again, we haven't really seen him since his freshman year. He did catch 30 passes that year. I'm with you. That position has got to step up. But, again, the tight end position, when you just break it down, is a spot that Kevion Mullins was a guy that they were very high on under the previous staff. And I think he had 3 catches in the LSU game and then got hurt again. The fascinating one is E.J. Jenkins. What exactly is he? Is he, kind of an undiscovered diamond in the rough kind of player who actually is a mismatch, or is he just, going to be an average player that takes a little time for him to come on? Because you heard Shane Beamer talk a little bit about yesterday about the offensive philosophy and talk a little bit about what they did and what he likes from Lincoln Riley's time, where the offenses, while they may have looked semi-similar, they were different in terms of formations and how the first year, I believe with Kyler Murray, they didn't do a whole lot of tight ends on the field, but then the last 2 years they constantly had maybe 2 tight ends on the field. So I'm with you. I think you're going to see a system here that is designed around getting the best guys on the field. I think to all of us, especially us who didn't play football or maybe aren't as nuanced in the game, you go, well, that makes common sense. That's what you should do, right? Like if you have whatever your best players are, you get them on the field. I don't know if we necessarily saw that with the previous regime and the offensive coordinators who went out of their way to utilize the best players at all times. We'll find out. Look, that's the good thing. It still is talking season, but hearing Shane Beamer talk about the tight ends yesterday is something that's very interesting. I think not just from a recruiting standpoint, but when you start to understand what this offense is going to look like. And Patrick, Luke Doty, a lot of talk about him and what he looked like in the spring game and how he played in the final 2 games last year. Having someone reliable like Nick Muse, and then having someone who, if EJ Jenkins can step up, who's 6'7", who can allow you to make some mistakes with your throws, certainly would help ease him into the season as well.
Well, yeah, I'm 6'7" is great, but I'm very curious what EJ Jenkins is going to end up weighing in at once we get closer to the season. Have we heard anything about this? Because
Yes.
he was so slightly built. Like he was very thin. It looked like initially. We assumed he was going to put on weight either way, but it feels like he had to put on a lot.
I will pull this back up. Yesterday morning, they did release a updated roster chart. It had the new numbers on it. It had the new heights and weights. I'll get that for you here in just a second as I scroll back through to see where I had that at. But yeah, they did put out something yesterday morning, basically updating. Now, I don't know, where exactly they're at in summer workout. So I don't know if that was something that is already done, or if there's like a final, say, weightlifting or weight session here later on. But yeah, they have put out. So I'll see if I can track that down for you and get it put out and just update you. I think he was 242 pounds in the previously in the spring. So again, just a position there that you look at and you look to see how exactly South Carolina is going to handle and what they're going to do offensively, because that is the one question one of the big questions we still have, Patrick. I know you and I talked about it going into the spring game. You and I talked about it coming out, but going in, we said, hey, one of the things we're interested to see is what this offense really does look like under Marcus Satterfield. And I don't feel like we got a great idea during the spring game, as it was very vanilla. You actually didn't see Nick Muse even targeted with any passes. So as we still try to figure out what we're going to see when South Carolina takes the field against Eastern Illinois, you do still assume that the tight ends are going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, but what you mentioned and what Shane mentioned, that's just what smart teams do. Like when they had Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley used the tight end a lot because he had Mark Andrews, and Baker Mayfield and Mark Andrews had a great relationship there, and that connection seemed to work. And then Kyler Murray got there, and he was a lot different. He was much better as a runner, and then Jalen Hurts was even more of a runner, but a different style, like more of a power running game. And he just continued to evolve the offense, and at no point did it ever slow down. Like they just continuously put up 50 points a night. It feels like 1,000 yards. It's just that's what good teams do. So I mean, I guess it's comforting to hear that that's what South Carolina is going to do. I mean, that's just what smart teams do. I guess we've gotten used to just trying the same thing over and over again and blaming the execution when it didn't work. But I mean, yeah, use the pieces you have and use them in the way they're supposed to. Don't try and put a square peg into a round hole.
I think we got Tim back with us.
What'd you make
now at this point? Tim, yeah, you go ahead. I was going to say you heard the tight end comments yesterday, and obviously it was a bit of a recruiting pitch, but again, that's got to be part of the offense, right? When you look at the personnel of this team, it's running backs and it's tight ends, and then you're hoping a wide receiver steps up.
Yeah, and it's a matter of being able to scheme that up, and how can Marcus Satterfield take advantage of that is going to be one of the large questions. And you feel like Shane Beamer taking advantage of the podium and some recruiting momentum and putting a message out there. And that specifically, I think, shows his connections to Gamecock fans, or kind of solidifies it to me, Bill, knowing that he could do that in that way, and it would be well received. A lot like you guys saw the picture last night on social media, right? recreation.
The
old Arby's picture from Steve Spurrier. You're not impressed, Bill? Nothing? I thought it was pretty.
No,
pretty
I did. I tweeted about it. Yeah,
shows.
no, it was really good. I like that, and I like the background. Did you see the background of Nick Muse and JJ Igbare? Now I'm told that they were trying to more recreate the little kid dad picture, but somebody pointed out they might have been recreating the the Step Brothers pose there.
That is what it looked like.
That's what I was hoping it was more of than the little kid and the dad. But yeah, I mean, look, that's become a weird South Carolina staple was that original Steve Spurrier picture, and now it's Shane Beamer pulling it off yesterday, and I probably was a little surprised, but I understand this. This was another question that got brought up to Beamer yesterday, and I think that he's having to walk a fine line on this in knowing his pedigree, knowing his background, both with his dad but with other coaches that he's been with, and not mentioning Steve Spurrier too much in press conferences, or this is how we did it. This is what Spurrier did. Because I thought he might mention Steve Spurrier yesterday 1 or 2 times in the press conference. And I don't want to say it seemed like he went out of his way, but I'm noticing he seems to mention Lincoln Riley. And obviously there was a lot of success. And why wouldn't you mention Oklahoma and what Lincoln Riley did? But mentioning Lincoln Riley a little bit more than he has some of the other people.
Well, also the most recent job, so it makes sense that you might refer to that one a little bit more than previous jobs. Up and rolling this morning. Glad you're a part of the program. 803-404-6100. If you would like to join, let you hear what Shane Beamer had to say specifically about expectations when we come back. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
A little rainy this morning, but that's going to clear out through the weekend. And then you're going to be ready to hop in the pool, hang out with the family, maybe do a little grilling and get ready. Because I tell you what, Saturdays in the South with college football, it's not far away. So you want to spend as much time with the family before, you start hibernating and watching all these college football games. And if you got a dirty pool, that makes for not a fun weekend. The kids get angry. The significant other probably gets angry. Maybe even the dog. Maybe even the family pet who wants to jump in and swim around won't be happy with you. Don't have a dirty pool. Use Corley Pool Solutions. Give them a phone call this morning, 803-445-8109. Flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. And that part is extremely important because, one, you're probably heading to work today. Probably a little grizzled from last night. Maybe you didn't get a great night of sleep. You don't want to have to spend your weekend going to the pool store, buying the chemicals, and then trying to figure out how much exactly you got to put in. You don't want to mess up the chlorine level or whatever levels, the pH levels. You don't need to do that. Use an expert who has been around for 20 plus years in this business, who can make sure that pool is clean, that the chemicals are balanced, that everything is ready to go when you're ready to do a cannonball right on in and have fun with the family. 803-445-8109. Again, it's 803-445-8109. Enjoy your pool and do not worry about any surprises. Use Corley Pool Solutions. You were on a little bit of a delay there when you came back.
Yeah. Enjoying that.
And yeah, 6'7", 243. So he gained a pound, Patrick, I think, from the spring.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how much he could physically gain. It might just be hard.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. A good question.
signed from North Dakota.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I saw that too.
Tim, you also saw the news about South Carolina hiring a pitching coach.
I did see that. Indiana guy.
Yeah, Justin Parker, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we got to get into just a little bit in a shorter segment about the alternate Monday night football broadcast team.
Yep. Peyton and Eli.
Bill, are you going to watch basketball tonight?
I don't know. I probably will watch a little bit. I was looking at a 9 o'clock tip.
Yeah. Could be it, though.
Could be it. Yeah, I don't know. Last night was weird because it was actually a pretty good movie night, and I ended up still watching Miami and NC State replay from this past year in football. I was flipping back and forth. I was watching True Lies. I was catching some of that. The Predator, the new Predator, or I can't remember the guy's name that was in Narcos that he's in it.
Every night is a good movie night. You have thousands of movies at your disposal to play from the beginning whenever you feel like it.
It was a good movie night for me because my ADD, I was allowed to bounce around between movies.
Yes, that's not a good movie night. That's a bad movie night.
It was a great movie night. Several things on.
Because how do you get invested?
Well, I've
how do
seen
you
all
wanna
of them.
stop?
I've seen all, and it started yesterday actually with 2012. And 2012 is a movie that I'll pretty much stop and watch pretty much every time.
Yeah, that's a horrible movie.
It's not a lot of fun.
All right, we're heading back.
I mean, I saw that movie in the theaters and it was fine, but it's just a corny disaster movie.
I like that, but I don't like what was the two asteroid movies?
Armageddon?
Armageddon.
Right here.
And then there was the other one too, Deep Impact.
Deep Impact, yeah.
Oh,
Armageddon.
That I watched that
That's right.
the Tomorrow War. I watched that again.
I watched the first hour, but I haven't finished it.
And there's not a lot of expectations for South Carolina football this fall. I get it. Don't really care, what the outside perception is and what the outside expectations are. We have we can be and how good can we be? How good can the 2021 football team be? And that's our goal and what we're working towards each and every day.
Shane Beamer, SEC Media Days from the podium yesterday, or actually I think that might have been in the radio room, a different room. Several different rooms is how it works over in Birmingham for Media Days. We'll talk to Heath Klein live on location a little bit later on in the program. To me, Bill, that was the most impressive answer that you can come up with. We talked about maybe the hypothetical or how other Gamecock coaches have approached it beforehand. To me, it shows some awareness, and also it doesn't give in to a number, doesn't pigeonhole you exactly. And I think you have to have a certain level of coach speak in difficult question situations a lot of times. This is one of those for Shane Beamer, and I thought he handled that as best as he could at this point. What about you?
Yeah, and I was really interested to hear that question, that answer yesterday. Just not, I get it. South Carolina right now has got a long way to go, and I think most people know that. But I think you still have to give your fans hope. You can't come out and Patrick, I think this is kind of what we're talking about. You kind of can't come out and say, well, yeah, we're just trying to get to 500, because then, even though that's what most people understand and realize, it feels like it's setting the bar too low. On the flip side of that, you can't come out and basically say, hey, yeah, our to be in Atlanta come December, because then that just seems unrealistic at this point in time. Now, I know the guys in the locker room probably don't feel that way, but I think you've got to be realistic. I go back, I think Steve Spurrier was as at times, as much as he was not humble, when he originally arrived at South Carolina in 2005, and he would just put out there, hey, we're just trying to go to a bowl game. I think that was a perfect goal for the team at that time. And for Shane, I think just saying that he wants his team to improve from game 1 to game 12, I thought that was a great answer at this time, hoping that they're better when they're playing in November as opposed to when they start the season in September.
That's Patrick gives me the awkward I look there, and the miscommunication. Apologize for the technical issues there.
Because it's weird. There's like a delay, and I don't know. Yeah, because I don't know if Tim's out or just delayed. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Bill, you said, and I disagree with you in the first segment where you said this is like a broken fan base. I think people are on cloud 9 right now. It feels like they're just getting incredibly carried away talking about this team's gonna easily be the 3rd best team in the East. They're gonna win 8 or 9 games, and people just, I mean, from the introductory press conference, people were just sold on Shane Beamer and think that he can work his magic right away, and they're fully bought in on all these coaches that have never actually coordinated a team before. Like Marcus Satterfield is going to be the next Joe Brady. We've never seen anything. So I just don't think that they're all beaten down and expecting the worst. So I agree with your assessment that, you know, you can't go in there and say, hey, this is the goal. We want to win the East. But you can't also go in there and say we just want to be better than the 2-win team we were last year. But yeah, I mean, I think it's almost like humbling people's expectations right now rather than trying to amp them up and get them excited about something that they're hesitant to be excited for. I think everyone's fully bought in right now.
Well, I think that people are look. I think there is a small portion of the fan base that is out there that is saying what you're saying. I think there's a small portion on the other side that is still very down and agree with you. In large, the fan base has started to rally. But you go back and even after the spring game, you had people questioning the quarterback situation, and rightfully so. Luke Doty's got a lot to prove. Jason Brown, Colton Gauthier, Connor Jordan. I mean, there's a lot to prove there. And so I do feel like by and large, a lot of people's expectations have been very tempered in the offseason, but they've also allowed themselves to kind of get reinvested. And I think to a point, that's where Will Muschamp drove the program, is to a part where people were not as invested as they had been. I mean, look, I know that last year was different, but we've talked about it. I don't know how many other people were kind of similar to you and I, Patrick, that probably the last 2 or 3 games, we were just checked out. I mean, there was, aside from having to do our actual job, I'll be honest, if we didn't do this talk show and I didn't do the pregame shows that I do with Heath, I probably wouldn't have had any idea of what was going on in those games. I remember being like that, Tim. I don't know how you were in college at the time, but I remember being like that during the 1-10 year with Brad Scott, where I remember I was in high school and I was driving back home one day on a Saturday and I was like, oh yeah, hey, South Carolina's playing. Let me cut it up. So, but I'm with you.
No one knows what to expect from Luke Doty because we didn't even pay attention to him. By the time he started playing, season was over and no one cared. No one remembers how he played against Kentucky. No one. If you do, you're lying.
I think
45.
This is one of the rare times, Bill, where I'm hearing 25-year-old Patrick sneak in there talking about the reaction to Shane Beamer right now. I feel like you and I were a little bit older. Like, yeah, we've seen the coaching transition thing and kind of know how the honeymoon period goes and the reaction. And July, as we build closer to August, every single year, the enthusiasm, the energy typically gets a little bit more ramped up. But coming off the Will Muschamp era is different for Gamecock football, Bill. I tend to be a little bit more with you and how you think Shane Beamer and the program is perceived right now than Patrick. Fortunately, we got 2 more hours to discuss here on the early game.
This is South Carolina head women's basketball clear on time, and you're listening to the home of the Gamecocks, WNKT FM.
This thing is worthless. So I'm going to try to run a hard Ethernet line from this internet. See if that helps.
I would think that would help. What, rather than just staying on one wireless connection?
What's that?
Rather than the wireless?
Yeah.
Bill, are you wired into anything, or you just?
Do I know?
Are you wired in?
No,
it's just nice.
I'm never wired in at home.
You are gonna wire in?
I'm going to try. See if I can. I don't think I have quite enough board here, but we'll see.
Maybe he's taking his equipment and he's going home.
Yeah, really. I was gonna ask where Heath ended up doing a show from yesterday. I kind of kept looking on Radio Row to see if I saw him at a table.
Yeah.
The tent that he had set up, on the ballroom floor. I'll make my space.
He just sitting Indian style on the floor.
Come on, guys.
Someone on the stream must know. Did Heath mention that he was in his hotel room or what?
Do I know?
I don't know.
I said someone that's watching the stream right now must have listened to Heath's show yesterday and know whether or not he was in his hotel room.
Because, well, I don't think he was, because at 4:00 he had to be in there for Beamer, so I highly doubt he was. He had to be in the hotel somewhere. All right, let me get some more coffee here.
Well, he could have just, I don't know.
Yeah, he had to be there yesterday. Today's a little bit different. You can leave. He can leave and go to his room, but yeah, he probably wanted to be there.
I guess I don't know. He could have just kept his equipment running and figured it out from there. Just run upstairs.
We lost Bill.
We lost everyone. What did you guys do yesterday, Jen?
I just kind of putzed around with stuff all day, and then my daughter came up. We ran around. She's been working a lot, finishing up her schooling. She graduates 2 weeks from tomorrow with her BSN, so that's pretty cool.
Oh.
So I hadn't seen her for a little bit, so that was good. Had an early dinner. About it.
Did you go out, or did you?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I'm so boring. Just Chili's.
Oh.
Nothing fancy.
Nah, but Chili's awesome. I love Chili's. I don't think there's one very close to downtown.
No, probably right there at I-20, 370.
Is that where you went?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not terrible. Basically, if you want a good sodium intake for the day, that's not a bad spot.
I know. I made my girlfriend come with me to Applebee's one day because I was just like, I needed just what is it? Eating good in the neighborhood? I need to eat good in the neighborhood. And I just said, we're going to Applebee's and we're getting an appetizer sampler. You can get whatever you want for the meal, but we're going to Applebee's for an appetizer sampler.
That'll work.
It's just the most American thing you can order.
Absolutely. Just getting something like literally those Southwestern egg rolls at Chili's. It's an appetizer.
Yes.
Those are so good.
Where did you go last night, Jim?
Just Chili's. Just
Chili's?
easy. Yeah. Just wasn't feeling like doing anything, fancy or.
Just go out and eat a little bit.
Yeah, went a little bit early so that Megan could come up and go back. She had worked an overnight shift, so she was regaling us with the stories of that. What I had texted you guys about, she had a combative patient that literally grabbed a hold of her wrists and for about a minute and a half was she's bruised up. Good times. Bill, if I were you, I'd look behind you.
That wouldn't happen. I am so sorry.
That's all right. Well, Jen said, I think someone's behind you about it, but.
Well, I knew you was on break right now.
Yes.
I dropped this off for you.
Oh, man. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy.
Oh, I'll tell you what. We'll enjoy it. Put some ice cream in there.
Yeah, children might enjoy a few, but let them. They just picked them Saturday, so let them sit out for a day or two, get a little soft. Okay.
I'll do it, man.
All right,
Thank you so
buddy.
much. Good seeing you.
Have a great day.
I will. Take
I
care.
knew you was on break. I figured it'd be fine.
Oh no, it's perfectly fine. Jim used to do that. Come up
I was trying to be nice and not let him get the diddling scared out of him.
What do we think he got?
I'll see you later.
Good seeing you. Take care.
Has to sit out. Tomatoes?
Peaches.
Peaches, that was my other
Oh.
guess. Okay.
There's some good looking peaches too.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. All right. Might have to go change my pants now.
I tried to help.
I'm surprised he didn't see that in the background of his own screen.
Right. Somebody's lurking in the back. That would weird me out.
So Lewis, he's a really good neighbor. He comes down and fishes every morning back behind me.
Oh, cool. Yeah, how nice to deliver peaches. I could stand to get some of those.
Yeah, him and his brother own Jack's Custom Cycles here in Lexington. You know where that's at? Over on
Yeah,
number 1. Yeah.
yeah. That's pretty cool.
All right.
We want to take wagers on how things will go with Tim?
I don't know.
I think his cord wasn't long enough.
Sounds like he's making the effort though.
I mean, mine can only be wired in, so I had to buy 2 extra. I have an extender, and I have it in my room, and then another 6-foot long Ethernet cord.
Oh, wow.
I have like 12 feet of Ethernet cords.
Well, and he's not had a problem
this way.
in that location before, so it's interesting what's different. You know,
Yeah.
he's been able to broadcast from there.
All right. Well,
Yeah, we're heading back in.
Jen, just play one. I'll open and then I'll come to you. All right.
Okay. Offense question marks.
Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be good.
Okay. Can call for it.
All right. Tell you what. Hold that. We'll get into a few other things this segment. All right.
Okay.
Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Britt, Jen Jensen. Tim Hill is along as well. He'll be back here in just a few minutes. Hope you are up and at him, doing well. Day 2 of SEC Media Day rolling along. Day 1 yesterday. Shane Beamer speaking to the masses there in Birmingham, Alabama, over at the Winfrey Hotel. Today, the schedule is Kirby Smart, bright and early, 10:05 a.m. Eastern Time, Heupel at 11:30. Mark Stoops, 2:30 this afternoon, and Lane Kiffin will wrap things up at 3:55 later today. So we'll continue to get caught up on that, as certainly we've got plenty of audio. Heath Klein expected to join us. Heath over there holding the fort down for the 107.5 The Game crew. We sent the professional of the group over there since it was a little bit of a different year. The one thing, Patrick, by the way, that Greg Sankey didn't say yesterday, we'll get more into what Greg Sankey had to say, is he did not mention where it will be next year, where they will hold the media days next year. So I'm guessing this will come out at some point. I only stay interested in that because I know I'll be back there next year hanging out and being a part of it. But anything in particular that you heard yesterday from any of the other 2 coaches that just caught your attention, that stood out a little bit?
I don't necessarily think from the other coaches. I mean, obviously the one quote from Dan Mullen that everyone was talking about was his little jab at Georgia, where he said, "Weren't they picked first place last year too?" I just think their tones were exactly what they kind of needed to be. Where Dan Mullen's job is nowhere near in jeopardy. I mean, he just got an extension or a raise, and so he's in a great place. And they're coming off an Eastern championship and a good performance in the SEC championship game. So I mean, it was light for him. And then Ed Orgeron, I mean, he's probably on the hottest seat in the SEC. Would you agree with that? Is that?
Yeah.
fair assessment. I don't know if anyone else is even sitting on a hot seat right now. I don't know. Maybe if Mike Leach just doesn't evolve his offense at all, they'll look at that and say, "What are you doing? Like, this is just clearly not going to work," and they'll cut ties early. But yeah, I mean, so he was very serious. I think we're kind of used to him being sort of fun and just kind of a storyteller with his Cajun accent. But yeah, he was very serious and kind of exactly what I expected. I wish it was a little more fun, but it was kind of exactly what I thought we were going to hear there.
One thing that I thought was interesting yesterday, just because I think it shows where Ed Orgeron has moved to as a coach. He was asked in particular yesterday about kind of getting LSU back after a 5-5 season, and the way he kind of explained it, that he was not going to go to outside people to get suggestions. He was going to do it what he wanted to do, the way he wanted to do it. And Patrick, he touched a little bit on his quarterback battle yesterday. LSU is an interesting team because we know that they're extremely talented. We know that they're capable of making a run, and I would say even winning, just based on talent, winning the SEC West. But the question is going to be, how does his two new coordinators perform, and what direction do they go with their quarterback battle? But him talking about him doing it his way, what he's going to do, I thought was kind of interesting, as opposed to just taking some suggestions from other people.
Yeah, I don't know how that would make an LSU fan feel either. But we mentioned it yesterday. Basically, the Florida team is nowhere, probably not as talented as the LSU team, but you just trust Dan Mullen to get the most out of his talent, and then LSU, it's just outside of Joe Brady, it's been a decade since they've gotten the most out of their talent. It never seems to happen for them. They're super experienced on both lines of scrimmage. I think everybody's a 4-year player on their offensive line, at least a 4-year player. You mentioned Austin Deckos will break the record for most games played for LSU this year, and their defensive line's super experienced. They probably got the best pair of corners in the country, probably by a long shot. And then it's just going to come down to the coaching and the quarterbacks. I don't know. It does seem like, just from hearing what we heard yesterday, people are kind of on board the Max Johnson train. I guess just everyone always wants the younger guy, just because I guess there's more potentially to unlock. But yeah, I mean, they for sure have the talent, and I don't know what's going to happen there. I favor Miles Brennan. I like Miles Brennan. I think he's got a can of an arm. I think he looks like an NFL type of quarterback, and I thought Max Johnson was throwing too many ducks for my liking. But if that's the way they go, I mean, I think they have a lot of talent. I do not trust this coaching staff. If I had to go into it, I would guess that this is Ed Orgeron's last year at Baton Rouge.
Be interesting. Obviously, LSU will open up on the road at UCLA. We forget Chip Kelly is at UCLA, and can he turn them back into the force that he had Oregon at way back, it feels like, back in the day. And so that is a chance for Chip Kelly and UCLA to say hello and reintroduce themselves to the college football world. We'll see if it goes down like that. But we'll get more into what happened yesterday at SEC Media Day. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100 is how you can do so. The Love Chevy phone lines or the Pool Care Heating and Air text line. 2 different ways to do that. We'll hear more from Shane Beamer coming up. But again, if you had any thoughts, any opinions from yesterday's SEC Media Day, feel free to join us there. Some other news, South Carolina related to yesterday. According to John Whittle of thebigspur.com, it appears that the South Carolina baseball program, Mark Kingston, will make the hire of a pitching coach either today or tomorrow. It will be Justin Parker, the Indiana pitching coach. A little bit on Parker. He put together a pitching staff that was number 3 in the country last year in ERA. He's been with Indiana for 3 years. They won the regular season Big Ten title in 2019. In 2021, Parker had 2 pitchers that were named second team All Big Ten, and a third pitcher who was named to the Big Ten All Freshman team. So a couple of things there that you got to like. Some numbers from this past season. He had Justin Parker. His staff had a 3.17 ERA. They had 462 strikeouts and 180 walks in 383 and a third innings. So Patrick, let's not sit here and pretend. I'm certainly not going to sit here and pretend I know much about Justin Parker, but we do need to mention that, and we'll see what he does for Mark Kingston and his staff as they move forward and go on into 2022 there, with a baseball team that's going to have some really good pitchers coming back, but it's got a lot that's going to have to reload on.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm just the exact wrong person to be talking about this. I'm looking up him, reading his bio on the Indiana website right now. I just found out that he went to Wright State, and I just found out that Wright State's in Dayton, Ohio. If there was a gun in my head, I would not have guessed what even state Wright State University was in. So, I mean, it sounds good. I don't know if the deal was good or not last year, but good that they poached him from a Power 5 team, I guess.
So yeah, we'll continue down that. But Patrick's right. Neither of us, I think, in terms of talking about the Indiana pitching coach who now will be set to be hired by Mark Kingston, South Carolina. It'll be a wait and see thing. If you got any opinions on that, 803-404-6100, how you can join us this morning. The most maybe entertaining news, Patrick, and I really like this story. Yesterday, it's announced that Peyton Manning and Eli Manning will take part in an alternate Monday night football broadcast for the next 3 seasons. It'll be a mega cast. It will air on ESPN2 for 10 games in each of the next 3 seasons. It'll include current and former NFL players and celebrities joining the Manning brothers on the broadcast. An actual host, apparently there's going to be an actual host, has not been named just yet. I also learned yesterday that apparently Peyton Manning has developed a production company. Were you aware of that? Omaha Productions.
No, but of course it's called Omaha Productions. Ridiculous.
So I can't say that I go out of my way to watch Monday Night Football each and every Monday night. Tim, I'm excited about this, man. I think Peyton Manning is actually really funny. I think the way that they're going to be able to broadcast the game, this is an incredible get for ESPN. And for those of us who as we talk about staying at home and watching football games, I think it's a great venture for them to get these two guys involved.
We know that he does at Peyton's Places on the ESPN Plus, and I feel like there were some negotiations like, hey, Peyton, we really want you to do Monday Night Football. Yeah, but does that mean I got to go to all the games? I'm going to come up with a better plan. Hey, Eli, why don't we just do half of them? All right, we'll do 10 of them. We'll do 10 of them. We'll have some people over, and it'll be fun. What do you think? They're going to pay us a bunch of money. Yeah? Okay. It's going to be on ESPN2. This just tells us where we are right now in 2021. This is going to be kind of the alternate broadcast. I mean, I've seen these Monday Night Football matchups. Sometimes there didn't need to be an original broadcast, much less an alternate broadcast. But I hear what you're saying. This can be an opportunity at least to make it a little bit more entertaining. For sure.
Where are they gonna? They're gonna be on.
They're not going to be at the stadium. They're not going to be on. They're not going to be live. So yeah, they could be doing it. I mean, how great would it be if they were just doing it from the Manning garage?
Right. This is like they're stealing our 107.5 The Bar concept that clearly we came up with and no one else has ever done.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing I think that we'll start seeing rolling out, it'll be like the Manning beer or the Manning beverages. Like, they'll have the things that they're going to be serving it that I could just see the marketing potentials are.
I'm picturing it as, did you guys ever watch like the national championship games? They have the coaches. That's what I'm picturing. Like, we're not even going to be necessarily watching the game. We're going to be watching the two Mannings sitting across from each other at a table. If that's the case, count me out.
No,
I like the traditional broadcast.
I'm thinking it's
as much as I want to hear
that we're watching them watch the game.
Yeah, but
to me, we'd be seeing the game. Maybe they'll do like a picture-in-picture type thing where like you'll still be able to watch the game and then watch them talk about it.
No, I'm in on this. I think you're going to get a little bit of a breakdown from Manning. I can see him and Eli both kind of breaking down particular plays or what they saw. Now, I don't know how much you'll get in terms of like replays where they really like analyze what they saw leading into that play. Hopefully you do get some of that. But I think you're also going to get some humor involved in it. If you're going to have a celebrity, if you're going to have somebody else in watching the game with you, I do think it's a different concept of broadcasting a game. It's a 3-year deal. Obviously I'm not going to go down through the NFL schedule all the Monday night games. but I would assume like Baltimore at Las Vegas is the opener. I would assume that they will definitely do that one and be a part of that broadcast, not in Vegas, but maybe they go to like say the MGM and do something like that. That would be actually pretty entertaining.
Well, they're signed up to do the first 3 games, and then they'll pick and choose the other 7 games they do in this season, and we'll see how that goes. It's an interesting concept for sure, and definitely something that popped out yesterday, worth mentioning today, along with our coverage of SEC Media Days. Let you hear a little bit more from Shane Beaver when we come back, the best of what he had to say yesterday, and love to hear your thoughts at 803-404-6100. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game. So doing a little working vacation this weekend, or this week, I should say, down at the beach with 15 of my family members. And you can imagine it is a bit of a cluster. And it makes me appreciate having a nice, clean house. Makes me appreciate the pros at Zero Res that much more when I'm seeing the mess that is being created by the Hill family summer vacation here. Zero Res does it differently than anybody else. They've been out to my house a couple of times, cleaned my carpets and area rug, and also the tiles in both the kitchen and the bathroom. And not just that, they got me good professional looking results, made my house that fresh, clean feel, but that they did it differently than anyone else. Why does that matter? Well, there are no harsh chemicals involved in the Zero Res patented powered water system. So I had nothing to worry about when it came to my kids being back on the floors as soon as they were clean. Also, no leftover soapy residue. That's why my carpets have stayed cleaner longer. Yours can as well. 3 rooms right now for carpet clean for only $119 plus a free hallway. When you mention me, Tim Hill, take advantage of their summer sale and get your house back to looking and feeling its freshest with Zero Res. You can go book that appointment right now, ZeroResColumbia.com. Give them a call at 803-262-4020. That's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Jim, I think you're the only person who's mentioned that there's an echo, so it might be your computer. Nobody else has mentioned that now.
No. You're echoing right now, and we got a text about it.
Well, there's nothing, and it's nothing on my end because my mic's been off.
So just technically right on point today, all across the board.
But I do like that view a lot better for you there.
Yeah, I'm going to get resituated here. I'm guessing little kids will start bombarding me in no time.
What are we, like half an hour from Bill going full silhouette?
I don't know. The sun. I don't know if the sun's going to come up this morning or not.
Yo, did you say you watched the Tomorrow War, or you watched some of it?
I watched all of it.
Did you like it? Isn't that kind of your type of movie?
It was good for about the first 3/4 of it, and then it's like they were like, "Oh, I guess we should wrap this thing up. So let's send them to Russia, and there's a spaceship, and it was just like, I mean, when you start doing time travel like that, you can poke holes in the concepts all you want, but it was kind of funny. It was kind of funny how like out of nowhere it just like they're like, all right, well, it's like we got to wrap up this movie, so here's how we're gonna do it. I was like,
That's what we're gonna do. Let's see. I have an hour and 25 minutes left.
Now, more importantly, did you watch the replay of The Spy Who Dumped Me the other night? Kristen Wiig and Mila Kunis?
No, I did not. I definitely did not.
That's a good one. They're a pretty good little duo.
I'm glad we start off the show with Perfect Strangers because I watched the last 30 minutes of Stars Born this morning. I was not in a good place at about 5:30.
Yeah, no.
You seen that movie, Bill?
A Star is Born?
Yeah.
Barbara Streisand, Chris Christopherson.
Well, no. That, well, there's 4 of them, but
I thought maybe you went classic. Really? Okay.
No, we tried to watch the Chris Christopherson one on Saturday, and it was not good. Barbra Streisand was not giving me any star qualities. I couldn't buy her being the star. And Chris Christopherson, I couldn't buy being an alcoholic either. The Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga one is the one that I was watching. Have you not seen that one, Jen?
I actually have not. No.
Oh,
And
it's unbelievable.
If I never hear their duet again, it'll be too soon.
That movie is fantastic.
Is it?
Very emotional. They crushed it. Yeah.
Okay.
Bradley Cooper was outstanding, and Lady Gaga, probably the best debut performance you can have. It's emotional, though. It's very emotional.
That's why I have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever that's duet they sang, it got so overplayed.
Oh, yeah. It's played everywhere.
My ears bleed when I hear it.
Yeah. But there were so many good songs there besides that one.
Really?
They did a great job. Yeah, Bradley Cooper took like years of singing classes, and then went to like music festivals overseas and played shows under like a pseudonym so that people wouldn't know it was him. And he just kept trying to play gigs to the point where he'd be good enough that people would buy that he was a real musician. Like he basically dedicated his life to this movie and killed it.
That's kind of impressive, actually.
And I think he really fought hard for Lady Gaga to be the lead, because this dude, like, I think they wanted a real actress or something like that, and he was like, "Nah, she's it," and she was awesome.
She's kind of reinvented herself.
Yeah, big time. She was like, I would have never pictured her 10 years ago when she's doing her like wearing like full metal or whatever, like
And the
weird
meats
outfits.
and coming in an egg. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, come back in. As the audience says, thank goodness.
Ben, can you play some Beamer here? Whatever you want to.
All right, I'll play 7 just because you wanted that earlier.
There's not a lot of expectations for South all this fall. I get it. Don't really care, what the outside perception is and what the outside expectations are. I like the team that we have, and we're about let's be the very best that we can be. And how good can we be? How good can the 2021 South Carolina football team be? And that's our goal and what we're working on today.
Shane Beamer showing plenty of self-awareness there and not painting himself into a corner when he talks about the expectations in his first season as a head coach with the Gamecocks and helping to kick off SEC Media Days yesterday. I think relatively rave reviews all the way around. And that one answer, I think, to me kind of signifies how savvy Shane Beamer is. Even though he's a first-year head coach, he understands the position he's in, and that Gamecock fans certainly don't want to hear we're not going to win games, or we are that 2-8 team. They don't want to hear the Will Muschamp approach. They don't want to hear the Steve Spurrier approach of just get to a bowl game. They want to hear, and this is where you could really get into trouble here. And in the off season and talking season, and Bill, you can't win games during the off season, but you can hurt your program. I think you mentioned that before. SEC Media Days, you're not going to win anything, but you can stick your foot in your mouth and cause yourself some and your program some pain. And this is another example of Shane Beamer not doing that and doing really the exact opposite and coming across as very well prepared and knowing what to say in the moment. How much that matters, again, when it comes to winning football games in between the lines. We could probably argue that or play it down for sure, but to me it just shows good decision making, and that's what you got to have as a head coach for sure.
Yeah, I always go back, and I'm not saying that this was the downfall of the Steve Spurrier era. are they trying to do? So I don't know. I like the answer. I think it was pretty good, and I think it's something that they certainly have a chance to be able
go out and do something and exceed expectations.
expectations.
But if you go out there
But
and
if you go out there and you give it a little bit too much, it can certainly fall apart on you.
So just part of the SEC Media Days experience, we're going to hear from Heath Klein a little bit later on in the program, who's there and did his show yesterday live, talked to both Nick Muse and JJ Enigbare, as well as Shane Beamer, and got to do something that no one's been able to do for a while, and actually speak to someone face to face in covering them in college sports. And I guess that's a good time to talk about Greg Sankey's approach and what he had to say. And I know it was spoken about a lot in yesterday's afternoon shows and the COVID situation and the whole deal. Bill, what do you think about the SEC commissioner and his perspective on the season? Again, that forfeits could still be on the table, I guess, is kind of what grabbed the headlines.
Yeah, I like that. You're putting the onus on the teams to go out and do what exactly they need to do to be able to play. He's right. They're not going to have the built-in extra weeks to move games around. You're going to try and go forward with a 12-game season and have your SEC championship take place the first weekend in December. We're going back to a regular schedule. So the extra weeks are not there to move a game or two around. You got to be ready to play on the Saturday that you're supposed to play the team. And if you can't do the proper things to keep your team healthy, you may have to forfeit it. It makes perfect sense to me. Now, will the other conferences follow that plan? Are they able to get
interesting? But given how this is set up this year, and that we're going to have a regular season, a regular 12-game season where you don't have extra built-in weeks, that's how it's probably going to be.
So that's part of the word from SEC Media Days yesterday. What about the actual players? Not many headline grabbing stories out there from Nick Muse or JJ Enigbare. Again, another good sign, I think, for your program when your players go there and they don't say anything that will grab board material. Nick Muse, I think, staying true to who he is, a confident guy, and talking about all the different strength coaches and assistant coaches that he's dealt with now in his career, and coming back and being really enthusiastic and positive about his final year. And then JJ Enigbare saying that he and Jordan Strong going to have a competition to see who can set the record or get the highest numbers of sacks going. I think two of the things that stood out to me. What about you, Bill?
Yeah, nothing. And I think, like you said, that's exactly what you want. You don't want your guys going in there and becoming the headline. And Shane Beamer did enough for South Carolina yesterday that they got positive press and publicity, and you didn't have anything out of the way. I saw a couple people get maybe a little fired up about Nick Muse giving Mike Bobo some praise and saying he's a great guy and the Auburn players are going to love him, but nothing out of the ordinary that was said. And I think both guys for South Carolina did the job they needed to do. It represented the university, talked about the team, talked about some of the guys that are stepping up. I know Heath mentioned that both guys mentioned Cam Smith is a guy who has made some strides in the offseason. We certainly hope that's true, but it'll be interesting. I think we'll get more from the players, or I know we'll get more from the players and I expect Shane too, when he has his big media day, probably in the beginning of August.
Got to get Nick Muse set up with Taylor.
You didn't like the outfit?
Taylor?
That was a pretty loose-fitting suit.
I see. I didn't even.
Did no one take note of that?
No clue.
I
didn't even look. So
now you got me great.
What?
Now we're going back to look at it.
I mean, go back and look at the pictures. His suit was a size too big. Yeah.
Okay, you're good with JJ Enigbare. What about?
Oh yeah, he looked sharp.
Who led the way? Derek Stingley Jr. What's your fashion report on him?
I don't even think I saw Derek Stingley. I assume he looked pretty sharp because he's probably got a lot of money already.
It's a good point. It's a different era, and I was a little bit surprised we didn't hear more about the name, image, and likeness stuff yesterday. Maybe everyone covering it is thoroughly.
Okay, I take it back. It's a rather large knot at the top of his tie.
You didn't like Junior's tie knot? Is that what you're saying?
I'm only seeing him sitting down. I don't really like the way he tied his tie, but I like the design. Yo, are you looking at the
803-404.
picture? Can somebody agree with me, please? That
Hold on, I
Nick
was on
suit
the
was
Nick
way too
Muse
big.
picture. Did you see? Because did y'all see with the at SEC on Twitter, the Southeastern Conference, they put out all the I don't know, glamour shots maybe. Are we going with this? Glamour shots, I guess, is what you would have. That is an exceptionally large knot on the tie. He's got the nice, LSU pendant there, the state of Louisiana. I like how he had the pocket square that matches the tie. But yeah, that is a large. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
But you're not a large. You got to go tiny. Are you a tiny knot tie guy? What kind of?
Well, compare
size.
the tie knot for him with the one by, was it Austin? Is it Deculus?
Deculus, yeah.
Deculus. Look at, if you compare again, if you go to the SEC on Twitter, they've got them all. They've got Nick Muse, Shane Beamer, JJ Ngare, all of them. Everybody. Yesterday, if you were there, and I guess they'll do it again. There's like 3 photos of them each. And like with Stingley Jr. is one of him doing the I guess the baby picture where he's cradling the football and looking at it. So you got one Ed Orgeron, you got Dan Mullen doing Dan Mullen things in these pictures. So kind of interesting, but yeah, you can check it out and make a decision for yourself.
Patrick, if you can't give me the name of a tie knot, then I can't accept any of your criticism.
Yeah, I have no idea. I tried to give you a gut call on Derek Stingley's outfit, and all I saw was a large knot. It jumped out at me. But all right, look at the picture from we've touched down in Birmingham. It was yesterday at 1:33 p.m. Nick Muse is wearing a suit that's a size and a half too big.
We'll continue to debate fashion as we roll on here. Might get into some football as well. Actually, want to let you hear, especially on the offensive side of things, some of what Shane Beamer had to say and how he's seeing the quarterback situation, the running back situation for the Gamecocks as we sit here in the middle of July before spring or before preseason practice gets going here and it's not too long, which is always the best part about SEC Media Days, that the actual playing time is right around the corner. We kick off the second half of the show next. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
Need to get yourself out to Love Chevrolet. You'll be feeling pretty good with the deals they have got going on right now, whether it's the $1,000 low price guarantee, maybe it is finding yourself an excellent certified pre-owned vehicle, or finding a brand new car or truck. From 14 acres to choose from, the folks at Love Chevrolet have got you taken care of. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Was actually out there last Friday hanging out with Josh and Ben and Luke, the whole gang. Saw Michael Corley out there. That's the great thing about Love Chevrolet. It's a fantastic sales staff that's there to help you, that's knowledgeable, that when you come onto the lot, wants you to feel comfortable with the purchase you are about to make. Making a car purchase certainly is a big decision. You're going to spend some money. You want to make sure you're comfortable with what you're buying. And with Love Chevrolet, the sales staff there, they'll help you feel extremely comfortable with that big purchase. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads. Hopefully the echo is not bothering anybody anymore. And Brian, Brent did do all the suits for Shane and the players yesterday. Brent does all the suits for South Carolina.
Oh, no, I think Nick pulled that thing out of his.
A double Windsor knot, I guess, is what we're going for, huh?
What time are we having Heath on?
I have no
8
idea.
o'clock hour.
Is Craig, is Brent a North Augusta guy? I didn't know that. I know Brent real well. Good dude, lives here in Lexington, but I didn't know he was a North Augusta guy. I don't know when we're having Heath on. I didn't know we were. I know Heath doesn't have, I mean, SEC Media Day is such a weird thing because, like, I get done with the show at 8 o'clock and there's kind of like nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So I feel bad, like if I'm hanging out by the pool or, you know, like, because you go back upstairs and it's kind of like today. I probably wouldn't listen to Mark Stoops go sit in the big room. That's gonna be kind of boring.
It was basically the same couple people asking all the questions.
Yeah, it is.
Just that one dude from, I think, Arkansas just gets
Bob
off
Holt,
on asking.
Holt, Cecil Hurt, and Pete Thamel will get in there a little bit. Mike, what's the guy out of Jacksonville? Mike Bianchi. And then you'll get every once in a while the random local reporter or something.
Yeah, I mean, just not. Most of the questions were not good questions, I would say. There are some dudes that clearly just raise their hand for the sake of getting a question in, and they're just limping through the question.
Just want to get on television a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they have nothing of substance to actually ask, but they just do it anyway.
Yeah, it's a weird little experience.
I know the only thing I heard Pete Thamel ask was about Ed Orgeron, asking him to comment on his sexual assault allegations.
Yeah, and I like how Orgeron thanked him for asking that.
Yeah.
Morning, Hope.
Morning. Oh, why is there a sad crying face? David Williams. Who put the sad crying face?
What?
Let's see what's on today besides, let's see if there's anything else here. I always look at awful announcing viewing picks for today. Is there anything else on? Patrick, do you get into the basketball tournament?
No.
Yeah, I don't either.
Not too bad.
Definitely not. Now that there's actual NBA finals and Olympics about to start, I will not watch 1 second of the basketball tournament.
When does America play again in the CONCACAF Gold Cup or CONCACAF, whatever it is?
CONCACAF?
CONCACAF, yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Let's see, we've got Costa Rica and Jamaica today.
We play on Sunday.
Huh?
We play on Sunday.
Who do we play?
It's the quarterfinals, so we'll play the runner-up of Group C. We already won our group.
Jen, can we come back with 2, please? And then we'll do 3 pretty quickly.
Okay.
Thank you. About to come back, Bill.
Okay. Well, my computer blows up. I'm sorry. The little fan just went crazy.
Back position, but that's what it is. It's young. Luke Doty's the most experienced guy that we have. We named him our starter coming out of spring practice. He's a guy that's been in our program for a year. Around him, we have a true freshman. We have an older young man in Connor Jordan that walked onto our program and is doing a great job. Colton Gauthier is a true 5. And Brown that transferred in. So good young talent, but inexperienced.
don't know what else Shane Beamer could say at this point. I guess you could try to sell your quarterback position a little bit more than that. Pretty much downplaying or slow playing it is how I would put what we just heard. Patrick, I feel like maybe you have a different take on that and how Shane Beamer approached his quarterback situation at SEC Media Days from the podium yesterday.
No, I think he's doing it the right way. I don't think that there should or will be much of a competition. I feel like we talk about this, and I guess I don't know. Like, you want him to be positive about his other quarterbacks, but you don't really want there to be any question at all that Luke Doty is going to be the guy, right? Like, you want him to seize the job, and I feel like that's what we've been saying for a couple months now. And I think he did a good enough job of kind of saying that Luke is the guy, but it's like nothing's necessarily fully set in stone. Like, he still has to keep working, I guess. And because like we said, he hasn't blown anybody away. Half of us probably didn't pay attention to how his first couple starts ended because the season was such a wash. And then there's people complaining about how he performed in the spring game. So, I mean, you want him to be the guy, but we haven't seen much. So this is the only way you can play it, really.
Bill, what'd you make of how Shane Beamer talked about his quarterback there on the podium?
Yeah, I mean, Beamer, we know this, he's going to be ultra positive about everything. And I think he balanced it with a little bit of truth in there and saying, look, it's an inexperienced group, but he likes them. And I mean, but what do you expect him to go out there and say, like, yeah, I'm not real crazy about these quarterbacks. Not only do they not have much experience, but man, in practice, they couldn't hit the side of a barn and we throw to the other team or we throw to the defense in practice. I mean, he's going to be positive about it. Now, what I do wonder is and I don't know whether it's on purpose or if this is by design, I do wonder how much he's going to open up the quarterback battle in, say, the first week or two before actually naming a starter for the first game. He is said, and again, maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but he has said that Luke Doty was the starter coming out of the spring. And all he was saying was going into the summer. To me, that's just saying all we're saying is going into the spring, Luke Doty is still the starter. It doesn't mean he's the starter for the first game just coming out of the spring. I do think that they're going to continue to have Luke Doty fight to earn the job, but I also think you want to go ahead and get a starter in place with whoever you're comfortable with early on, and then kind of go from there. And we'll see if that's something that kind of happens here over the next 2 weeks. We'll have another media day, by the way, with Shane Beamer next Thursday, his Birdies with Beamer golf tournament. Maybe we'll hear a little bit more about specific positions as the local media will get to ask him and certain things that he's looking to do.
Well, let's go to more a position of much more proven production and seems to have some good young talent to come as well. Not long after, or almost immediately after talking about the quarterbacks there, Shane Beamer goes to the running back evaluation from the podium yesterday.
Our running back position is a great position of strength for us. Obviously, we all know what Kevin Harris did at South Carolina last season and the season that he had. He's excited to build up on that and to have an even better 2021 season to lead the SEC in rushing yards per game and to go over 1,000 yards on a team that didn't have the success that they wanted on the field, to me is remarkable and just a testament to the workhorse that Kevin is. Marshawn Lloyd, who we have high hopes for, is fully healed and doing a great job in his rehab and is back to full strength. Excited to watch him. If you watched our spring game, you saw Zaquandre White. He capped off a great spring practice with a great spring game. Fired up about what he can do.
So the running back evaluation, much different than the quarterback evaluation, as you would assume there, Bill. Do you hear anything that you maybe didn't expect to hear?
No, I mean, South Carolina's strength know what Marshawn Lloyd is. There's just a bunch of people who are assuming he's going to be an all-world talent because of the recruiting hype, and maybe he will be. We have seen Kevin Harris produce. Zaquandre White you've seen in a spring game. I don't know what that means, but you have seen Zaquandre White in a spring game. We'll see. Rashad Amos is a fourth guy that got some carries last year that I thought, in limited production, did some nice things and appears to be a very quality number 4 back. So you know that the strength of this team is on the offensive line. And one other interesting part that I thought was yesterday, and I could be wrong because I watched everything that Beamer did, whether it was on Peter Burns and Chris Doering's show
or if it was in the big ballroom, and then I watched the Paul Feinbaum show afterwards, and he was on there. He mentioned multiple times that from his dad, he learned if you can be strong on the offensive and defensive lines and in the kicking game, you've got a chance to be pretty good. And those offensive linemen are going to have to continue to perform at a high level so that these running backs do have room to run and aren't being hit in the backfield having to make plays.
We'll continue to let you hear more from Shane Beamer, yesterday's SEC Media Days, as we roll on into day number 2. Our Heath Klein, live on Birmingham. He'll check in with us as well in the 8 o'clock hour. You're listening to the early game here on 107.5 The Game. Hey, want to tell you about Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding. They're been there or out near the area. If you haven't gone and checked them out, I didn't even know it was all the way towards the back there. 3911 Edmond Highway is the exact address. And if you're looking for anything new in your house, Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding, the exact place to go. Why? You can go to a big box store and you can be another number, just another kind of nameless and faceless customer, or you can go to Daniel's and be treated like family. And that's exactly what Daniel and June Clark have been doing for the last 25 years. If you walk into Daniel's Fine Furniture, you're going to be treated like family. And if you see something you like, guess what? Buy it right off the floor, right there. And then they can get it delivered to you very quickly and sometimes for free if you're not too far away. Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding, their go-to, the Motion Furniture. I didn't even know it was called Motion Furniture. I call it a recliner. It does move in my house, but not very much. And then I don't move very much when I'm in it. And that's exactly what happened when I was at Daniel's, trying out all the awesome recliners they have. They have the reclining love seats as well, the leather gallery. I encourage you, if you have any inkling, get some new furniture, to check out Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding. Again, out near the airport, 3911 Edmond Highway.
Basically,
Oh, Bezos is going to space today.
Huh?
Bezos is going to space today.
9 o'clock this morning in the launch time.
Says Tuesday morning. Sounds right.
Is it Bezos and his brother? Is that right?
I think so. And some 18-year-old kid whose dad paid like $28 million and then had a scheduling conflict and couldn't go to space today.
Had a scheduling conflict?
I think so, yeah.
What?
So he sent his son.
Yeah, I'm calling BS on that one.
Well, I think Ashton Kutcher was supposed to be on there too, and then Mila Kunis told him not to.
So I can see that.
Interesting.
So did I read correctly that Ben Affleck and Jennifer, whatever their name is,
Lopez?
they're back together?
Oh, they're more than back together. They're getting a $60 million house together.
That's good.
Yeah, that's important.
Well, you don't know one single name of a knot on a tie, but you know that, Patrick.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I would know the names of knots. I know the Windsor, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what I tie.
Need to have a visual demonstration. We can tell you.
I was gonna say we've had Bill's done the demonstration, or we've seen the visual of the hats he has or the watches. So maybe he needs to like do a tie tying class.
A tie tying class.
Mm-hmm.
I do have about 30 ties.
Well, so, and actually, I think you've shown them. So maybe you need to show us the different types of knots.
I'm pretty sure I've only ever done a Windsor and a double Windsor.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure I've only done. I'm pretty sure I've only ever done a Windsor. I have no clue what I did. It's whatever I learned in high school, where you do the loop and then you pull it back down and.
Yep. That's a Windsor.
I think so. Sounds good to me.
The like basic one, where it's like this,
over. Oh wait.
and then through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That looks Windsor-ish to me.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was called.
I'll take that as a Windsor. Yep, that's exactly
What kind of tie is that, dude?
Tabasco.
Of
go.
course.
This is how big the knot should be, like that.
I agree.
That's your maximum.
Derek Stingley's was enormous.
Remember, it used to be the thing back in the Jordan days to have it as small as possible, and then
Skinny tie.
Greg might have hit us up. Michael Irvin in his day, I think, tried to make it the thing to have the biggest knot possible. So ridiculous.
I got a wedding this weekend, but I'm pretty sure it's a non-tie wedding.
I thought the advice you gave me was that all weddings are non-tie weddings.
Because you don't want to tie the knot.
No, I don't think I gave, because there's certain ones.
People aren't really wearing ties anymore. Ties are out.
At weddings or overall?
Exactly. Overall, man.
Overall, yeah.
I don't know. Right? Every person I saw yesterday had a tie on.
Oh, you mean at SEC Media Days? Yeah. That's still ridiculous. No doubt.
That actually surprises me,
You gotta get dressed up, put on a nice watch. I'm not as big a cufflinks guy, but
we're
I
going
think
back in.
it was one of our live streamers who was big into the cufflinks.
Shin, I want to go another Beamer here, the short one, which is number 5.
Straight in.
Yes, please.
Okay.
December. I didn't feel like there was anything in South Carolina that we lacked to be a championship program. We had everything that we needed. I'm even more convinced of that now after being there for 7 months.
That resolve right there that you heard from Shane Beamer, SEC Media Days on the podium, I think what Gamecock fans identify with and rally around the most, especially after not having heard that for so long. I don't know if Gamecock fans have ever heard that. I'm trying to go back through my head because you definitely didn't hear that with Will Muschamp, who famously or infamously said the loyalty resides with whoever signed the paycheck and was all over the SEC. You certainly didn't hear that from Steve Spurrier, who basically laughed at Gamecock football history and the lack of the trophy case when he was introduced. And Lou Holtz played that down certainly as well, talking about a culture change necessary and the whole deal coming in with the championship resume. Maybe Brad Scott did it to some degree, but he came off of Bobby Bowden's staff that was dominating college football at the time. So I think it would be hard to really embrace South Carolina football at that point, headed into the SEC for the first time. Bill, is that part of Shane Beamer or the main part right now that Gamecock fans are really rallying around? Do you agree?
Well, I think they're just rallying around overall positive messages that are being put out. But I thought Spurrier did some of that. I didn't think Spurrier. I know what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying about the history, but I also thought Spurrier said everything was in place. We'll talk more about that. I thought Spurrier was a little more positive. I feel like he was more positive than you made him out to be.
Why not us was the little guy in the underdog card as opposed to what Shane Beamer's saying. And we'll talk about it hour 3.
WKTFM, Eastover, Columbia. This is 107.
All right, so I think the Ethernet is the way to go here. We didn't have any issues there, right? Since I moved out here.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay.
Looks like a more comfortable view. Might be a little warmer.
Yeah, right now it feels awesome.
I
Actually,
was gonna
It's
say
a
that
matter
looks a
of
lot better. All right, I'll be right back. I gotta.
the house traffic down, and I have to figure out how to get the power cord to the computer so it doesn't die on me. That's what I'm going to be doing right now. I'll be right back.
Excellent.
Patrick, all you in a knot tying class with Jen.
There you go. Not happening. I did not know how many different types of knots there really were.
Well, if that's a Windsor, I guess, do they just do it twice? Is that even possible? Because they said double Windsor. I guess you could just do it again. I've never even attempted that.
And then there's a half Windsor.
I have no idea what that would be. Let's see. No, I couldn't do this again. I guess I could go.
Half.
When did people start wearing ties? Ooh,
Like
that's
in-
definitely the double Windsor. You just go through again. That looks kind of sharp.
Of course, then never get it back off.
Ugh.
Yeah, truly. Had no idea there were that many different varieties.
They all look the same. There's really no reason to be getting fancy with it.
There's a few. There's like a fishbone, and there's a cape that looks like it's.
There was about a 5-minute period where I thought I was
Cared.
going to try and learn how to tie a bow tie, but then I realized that it's not at all worth it. I just have clip-ons and I don't wear bow ties anyway, so it's kind of useless. Trey, there's no shot I'm doing that. I'm the wet blanket today about Shane Beamer. I have been, Trey, you will be happy to know I've just been watching 2016 Olympic highlights on YouTube this morning.
Today, the rate they're going, that may be the only Olympics you're going to be watching.
I need the Olympics to hold us over till football season. I can't have this.
Keep it.
I don't like the way things are trending.
Yeah.
Most people are there now, right? I think.
Yeah. But then you're hearing more people are, popping up with COVID and whatever.
Yeah.
But even non-symptomatic, which is, I don't know.
I know another gymnast got
Yeah.
sent yesterday. I think they're waiting on one of the basketball players to see if he can fly out. He wasn't allowed to fly out yesterday, and they're hoping he can fly out today.
Exactly. And wasn't the women's team impacted as well? Because didn't they fly
Probably.
on the same plane that like the men's team, or there
Oh,
was?
they might have. I saw a video on Asia's Twitter page yesterday of her doing like a dance with Dawn Staley as they were in the airport getting ready to leave.
Okay.
So I assume they're there.
Craziness. Kind of felt like we were a little bit past, some of this, but
Also,
a little disturbing. Oh, there you go. I know, and with the Olympics, that knocks out NASCAR for a couple weeks, so that's painful.
why?
Well, because right now they're in the part of the season where it's NBC or
Oh.
NBCSN. Yeah.
So yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, they do the first half of the season with Fox, so that would have worked out fine. But
Yeah. Yeah, NBC's like full on Olympic programming now, right?
I think so.
I mean, they took one of their they took Pro Football Talk off the air like 3 weeks ago.
Really?
That was one of my daily podcasts. Tonight at 11, USA softball starts.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't know that. I thought things started on Thursday. Wait, 11 p.m.?
So
What time is it in Tokyo right now? It is 9 p.m. So they're so that means 11 p.m. tonight is noon tomorrow. Is that right? Yeah.
that confuses me so much. That whole time zone thing.
I think it
do you
says it's
get
9 p.m. right now.
Okay, so it's 13 hours.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because it says the opening ceremonies, I think, were 8 a.m. or they start at maybe 7 a.m. So that would be like 8 p.m. Sounds like the right time to start an opening ceremonies.
Yeah, 7 a.m. on Friday. Interesting. I don't know. It's a weird time, you know. I mean, we're excited that at least some things are getting back to normal, but
Well, we're all good here. I thought.
Oh, you're good. Oh, gotcha. Put that to the pops. Nice. Yeah.
perfect.
Oh, you're good with me, man. Got my pops on the back with me now.
He classes up the shot. He can be in
For
it.
sure.
All right, we're back in the open. Billy Bill's taking a nap.
Yep.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I've been back.
You haven't
Let's
been
start
back.
with 7 right here, Gene. Straight out of it, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Great.
And what the outside expectations are. I like the team that we have, and we're about let's be the very best that we can be, and how good can we be? How good can the 2021 South Carolina team be? And that's our goal, and what we're working towards each and every day.
Beamer from the podium yesterday, SEC Media Days, balancing the tough spot he's in right now between realistic expectations, optimistic outlook for a program that has struggled to win football games recently, and knowing that he's a first-year head coach as well. The debut went well at SEC Media Days yesterday. And Bill, how would you describe day number 1? Relatively quiet or relatively maybe what you would expect, if you can't expect anything after not having the event at all last year because of all the COVID concerns this time?
Yeah, very, very quiet. I thought we'd get honestly thought we'd get a little bit more out of Greg Sankey in terms of some name, image, likeness. I thought he was very careful in how he phrased things. Obviously, he opened up with the Bob Dylan lyrics and talked about the times are changing and kind of the evolution now of the college landscape. But at the end of the day, I think what you ended up there with is a commissioner who was very careful in how he worded things. The only area that he really pushed was the potential forfeits if a program cannot play a football game. I mean, you know, and he's willing to work with anybody. He said, he wants to remove the roster limitations. So you got 35 players. You know, you might have to have guys playing both ways, but he's okay with that. That's fine. Go play 35. You know, go play with 35 guys. Do what you got to do. But we're not going to move games around for teams that can't handle the virus. And so, with all that being said, I thought that was interesting. But he also, I thought, kind of deferred on the name, image, likeness to how it's got to be handled and what they want to do. Ed Orgeron or Dan Mullen was up first, and I'm with Patrick. Aside from trying to remember who was picked to win the SEC East last year and kind of defending his team, he had some positive things to say about Emory Jones. He likes where his program is at. He didn't really step out of line. Ed Orgeron kind of defended, I thought, himself more. Patrick and I talked about that a little while ago. Ed Orgeron kind of defending himself, defending his program, believing that he's got the right guys in place for them to step forward. And then Shane Beamer, I thought Shane's message was more about, hey, this is South Carolina football. The 12-minute opening monologue, basically, that I think it was 12 minutes is what I saw on Twitter, where he basically talked about the facilities. He ran down the roster. He talked about himself, just kind of almost reintroducing South Carolina football under his watch. But other than that, again, yeah, it was pretty much a quiet day there. It will be interesting today again. Kirby Smart will take the podium in about 2 hours. You've got Josh Heupel, who I think just comparing Heupel and Beamer and how those two are, will be kind of entertaining. Mark Stoops will be Mark Stoops, and then you'll wrap it up with Lane Kiffin, and we'll see if we get Lane Kiffin pushing the envelope, taking a shot at Nick Saban, or doing something funny or wacky. Who knows with Lane Kiffin? You never know when that guy gets to a mic and wants to make a comment or two.
Well, it's the first time he's going to be doing it as the Ole Miss head coach, having not had this event at all last year. Obviously has the Tennessee experience from back in the day, but he's a guy that I feel like if you are a fan, maybe you're interested in what he has to say. Maybe it's this whole Steve Spurrier thing where you're interested and you're also maybe a little concerned that he might say something that he's not supposed to. I feel like Kiffin definitely more in that line than Spurrier was. I don't think Spurrier ever gotten any kind of NCAA issues. Remember the Kiffin accusation to Urban Meyer back in the day when Meyer was the Florida coach and saying there were some recruiting issues. It turned out there weren't recruiting issues, but Kiffin kind of putting his foot in his mouth in that way when he was at Tennessee. One way that he has done that, obviously the Alshon Jeffrey comment from back in the day still sticks to the Gamecock fan base. But yeah, I think he's the most willing out of any of the 14 coaches. He and Leach, maybe it's just the Mississippi coaches right now to go off script, if you will, and say some things that might grab headlines, especially as we're starved for football talk.
Is that still the case, though? I mean, that was, like 10, 12 years ago when he was at Tennessee? I mean, has he been the same guy? I think he's been, sarcastic, but I think he's clearly more mature and a little more careful, isn't he?
I haven't seen that. I that's the narrative. He's older.
I mean, what has he said that was controversial recently? I feel like he just makes these fun little jabs at Nick Saban, and that's kind of the extent of it. I don't think he's really created waves, has he?
Or Kirby Smart? No, he's not done. He's not done what he did. I mean, remember, was it SEC Media Day, Tim, where he got up there and said he had the phone recording of Urban Meyer making an illegal phone call to, I believe it was Nukeese Richardson, the wide receiver out of Pahokee.
I think he was talking to Tennessee fans, I think, about how he's going to turn Urban in. I'm going to do it and bragging like that. And it just didn't go well. It was about this time of year, though, I think.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not trying to tell you that Lane Kiffin hasn't learned anything from prior mistakes. I just think that he is who he is. Just like Steve Spurrier didn't make jabs for a lot of years when he took over the job at South Carolina because he didn't have the team to back it up. But once he did, then we got to more of the Steve Spurrier that we heard at Florida. I think if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I am not 100% confident, let's put it that way, that Lane Kiffin won't say something that'll come back to bite him at some point.
I don't. When you say bite him, I'm with Patrick. I don't think he's going to go out of line. Can I see him? It's kind of like I think the tweet he put out back on Father's Day or the day after Father's Day, where it was like somebody photoshopped Kirby Smart's head on a baby and Nick Saban's head on a dad holding the baby, and he's like, spending Father's Day with your dad or something. Like that's what I can see. I can see him making a little shot, a little jab at Nick Saban. I think he likes doing that. I think it's the rebellious young son and the uptight dad, and he knows that Saban's, I think there's an appreciation there between those two. And then obviously Kiffin and Smart being on the same staff there. I believe they were on the same staff there for just a little while, and again, a relationship there. He doesn't have to play Georgia. So for all we know, he might take a few extra shots at Kirby Smart, just knowing Kirby doesn't play Georgia this year, whereas Alabama may try and go hang 70 on him this time as opposed to 60. But It wouldn't surprise me at all if Kiffin gets it there. And it's just good natured ribbing. I could see that.
I do feel like Mike Leach is more of a loose cannon because he could just get asked a question. He could take it in any political, foreign affairs direction that just could definitely get him in legal trouble more so than NCAA trouble and create problems there. Like he's definitely liable to go any direction. Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Leach, I believe, is tomorrow. Again, the schedule today. Yeah, Kirby Smart will be boring today. He follows the Nick Saban model. Josh Heupel. Again, I'm interested to hear that. I'm interested to see Tennessee when we going back to what we played here to start the segment, the expectations and what we've talked about today. South Carolina and Tennessee, I think, have the ability because of recruiting footprint, because of facilities, because of everything that kind of goes into building a football program. I think you guys would agree South Carolina and Tennessee have the ability to climb over Missouri and Kentucky if it can be built the right way. Obviously, Missouri has already won more SEC Eastern Division championships than South Carolina, winning 2 to South Carolina 1.
Wait. You got to go stronger than that. If South Carolina and Tennessee don't climb over Kentucky and Missouri, then guys that are in charge of the programs won't be in charge of the programs very long.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I will say this with Missouri. I'm coming around to Eli Drinkowitz, and I wonder how long he stays at Missouri. If he views that as a great job that he's willing to hold on to, because if you look at what he's done at both at Appalachian State and even last year at Missouri, I'm impressed with him. I really am impressed with him, and I'm very interested to see if this coming off season, if we see more coaching turnover, if you see a job more on the East Coast, and if you see more of a job on the East Coast, if that's something he's willing to get back to, or if a bigger name school comes open, if he's willing to take that chance, or if he's given that chance, because I think he has not been afraid to rub South Carolina fans the wrong way with some comments after the victory by Appalachian State, and then even last year, I forget how he phrased it with the issues with his roster taking on South Carolina and some COVID issues that they had. But I do like him, and that's a guy at Missouri that I could see having them on a higher level. But I'm with you. South Carolina, Tennessee, you feel like has everything it needs to climb over those two programs. And I want to see what Tennessee sounds like today with Josh Heupel and how quickly they can get back to being third in the East.
Well, to me, this will be a continuing theme. We talked about how Beamer and Josh Heupel will always be compared to each other because of the timing of their hires, also because of the program's struggles going into their hire. But I think Gamecock fans and Tennessee fans will be going back and forth a little bit today. I can certainly see Gamecock fans listening to Josh Heupel and comparing him to how they were inspired by Beamer yesterday and feeling good that they have Shane Beamer in their corner. Patrick, kind of like what you were talking about, the rave reviews that Shane has gotten since taking over the job. You think there's maybe a little bit more optimism out there amongst Gamecock fans than Bill and I have our finger on the pulse of, or know that one poor performance on the field can kind of yank that away. But that's the beauty of the middle of July, and Talking Football will continue to do it. SEC Media Days number 2, let you hear from Shane Beamer specifically about why he's looking forward to this year. Pretty obvious, but from his mouth, why he's looking forward to this year more than he's ever looked forward to a football season in his life. That's coming up next. Let you hear from Heath Klein live from Birmingham a little bit later on in this hour as well. You're listening to the early game here on 107.5 The Game. Not very far behind today.
I need to always talk about my good buddy Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru with First Palmetto Bank. He and Brian Kovar teaming up right now to help save people money. Now is the time to refinance, and certainly if you're looking to buy a new home, it's a great time too. Interest rates are low, but refinancing the way a lot of people are going right now, getting a lower interest rate, maybe getting a little money back in their pocket if you have some equity in your house. If you don't know, check your mortgage statement and then give the mortgage guru team, Jacob Crowder, Brian Kovar, a call today, 803-719-1005. You can email it, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER at firstpalmetto.com is the way to do that. look at that mortgage statement again, see that interest rate, and then call Jacob and see what you can become approved for. It's a 5 to 10 minute phone call, but it may end up saving you $100 a month. Plenty of money that you can put back into your family. Again, a good friend of Jacob and Brian recently did just this. Found out he had plenty of equity, got some money back, and put a basketball court into his backyard for his son. That would be a really cool thing that you might be able to do. So give Jacob Crowder a call today. 803-719-1005. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank.
I'm going to impressed with all the two. Charlie, Bill, I think you should definitely take that as a compliment that Jim is missing your face.
Yeah, because I got to admit, out of the four of us, it's my facial expressions on certain things that are probably the most noticeable.
Jim, you got to admit you'll trade a sunrise at Lake Murray for Bill's facial expressions, won't you,
I
man?
would agree with that too, yeah. Although not a sunrise this morning. It looks like we're going to have just a gray kind of day.
Josh, there's a difference between referencing that the team won 2 games in the season before and then using that as your mantra. And that's what Muschamp used it as his mantra to basically make sure that Gamecock fans didn't expect too much and as an explanation for not having a very good team. I haven't heard that nearly as often from Shane Beamer. That's the thing that also impresses me, how he has a really good internal compass, I think, of that coach speak meter when it's getting too high, and he'll even say, yeah, I know it's cliche and blah, 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 and then get back to more authentic sounding comments, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, the next question for Beamer is, well, besides how does he coach, or how is a game managed? How does he speak to the media when there's a little bit of adversity?
Right.
You know, does he try to blow smoke up your, you know what, by telling you everything's fine? Does he do what Muschamp did? Said, hey, we had the game plan, we just didn't execute. Is it always we got to go back and look at the film?
Well, to me, it's the emotional maturity that Muschamp never had. He would basically kind of pout after these games,
Yes.
feel like, and you got the emotional response as opposed to, hey, get over yourself and deal with it as rationally and responsibly as possible.
Yeah.
And we obviously haven't heard that from Shane Beamer, the head coach, but I feel like already you can see a bit of a more calculated, mature approach. But it's not after a loss.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they lose 56-3 to Georgia,
right, might be a little different, huh?
Yeah.
So Jen, want to do number 6 coming in straight, please?
Okay.
And sorry, the audio isn't exactly how we want it here from the coach. I'll try to pop it up and then get our scratchy mic out.
All these Gamecock clubs I go to, any interview that I do, anywhere that I go in public, everyone tells me that there's never been more excitement about South Carolina football than there is right now. And I'm with them. I've never been more excited about a football season. I've never been more excited about the future of a program than what I am right now. There have been some great days in Columbia, South Carolina, some great days for South Carolina football, but I am 100% convinced that the best days of South Carolina football are right in front of us, and I couldn't be more excited about that, about being the head football coach of South Carolina.
That's how Shane Beamer ended his opening statement at SEC Media Days, and kind of doing it emphatically, I think, Bill. Wouldn't you say, with what you heard there? It was maybe a little overstated, right? I remember the 11-win seasons and where Steve Spurrier had his team and Jadeveon Clowney and the whole thing. I think some Gamecock fans are a little bit more excited heading into those seasons than they are as we sit here today. But as far as the future of the program, I understand where he's coming from for sure, especially knowing where Gamecock fans have been the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think, Patrick, that's kind of more of what I was referencing earlier. You're right that there does seem to be optimism picking up. But when I say that they're beaten down, I think what you're seeing is energy getting back into the program. And I do agree. I agree with Mark on the live stream who says he's not sure if it's true about fans being more excited now than ever. I got to admit, I think going into that Texas A&M game, that was probably South Carolina was a top 10 team that year. They were picked to win the East. I think, there was a lot of talk about maybe that offense and what they could do. And obviously it all crumbled on a Thursday night at Williams-Brice Stadium. There was a lot of energy and excitement going into that particular year. With that being said, when you get beaten down the way that the fan base has the last 2 years, I can kind of see where there is so much energy and excitement just because Shane is so different than Muschamp in the great way of just energy and enthusiasm, and it appears to be transparency. And so I can understand why right now it's hard to remember, man, 8 years ago. And Shane kind of referenced this yesterday. I don't know how other fans feel. It does feel like decades ago since all that success occurred. It feels like that is, and obviously it is a decade when you talk about it being almost 10 years or in the last 10 years. But he's right that there are things that have occurred that aren't that long ago. But man, the last 2 years, guys, and really even going back to the Belk Bowl, it's been extremely difficult to be a Gamecock fan, not just because of what your program's doing, but what the team in the Upstate is doing as well in terms of being out there and being in 6 straight college football playoffs and having guys like Watson and Lawrence and Etienne and the defensive lines. It's tough, not just when you're struggling, but when your rival is doing exceptionally well.
Justin says, couple years. Where y'all been the last 5 years? Well, Muschamp did have a solid first season and then a good second season. You can't forget that. I get it that emotions take over and definitely cloud our memory or our feelings, but it was on a positive trajectory 2 years into Will Muschamp, and there is no doubt about it. It looked like he might be the guy for the job, the chip on the shoulder in the SEC and the whole thing. And then, Bill, it wasn't as dramatic as that season opener in 2014 that you were referencing, the Texas A&M game on a Thursday night. It wasn't that dramatic on the field. It just was a gradual, to me, slide, and then not competing last season in so many games. They averaged a 17-point margin of defeat in those games, going 2-8 in the SEC season, was certainly the bottom. And now that you have a guy who at least clearly gets the fan base. I don't know if Will Muschamp ever got the South Carolina fan base. He certainly never differentiated the South Carolina fan base with any other SEC fan base or big-time college football fan base, for that matter, that he'd been around in his career. And now that Shane Beamer has just, I think, naturally done it. I don't think it's been a calculated deal. Maybe it is. Maybe he's more savvy than I'm giving him credit for, but I think it's his connection and previous experience at South Carolina that has caused him to be as endearing to Gamecock fans as he's been so far in the first few months. Again, honeymoon period, got that, understand completely, and what happens on the field is ultimately going to speak loudest, but these comments and public appearances do matter, especially to a fan base that needs some positivity and hasn't had hardly any for those last couple of years, like Justin's referencing. 5 is a little overstated, but last couple for sure.
Yeah, and we'll see. They've got to go out, and we were kind of talking about it off air on the live stream, and people were kind of chiming in that, it's great now, but what does it sound like when you face a little bit of adversity? What does it sound like, if you go to Athens for a night game and you get beat by 3 or 4 touchdowns, which is very possible with what Georgia's got coming back. And what happens if – I think regardless of what happens in Athens, as long as South Carolina wins the first 2, the atmosphere for the Kentucky game is going to be through the roof. You're going to actually have some official visitors that weekend, I believe. I could be wrong. I think I'm getting this correct. I believe Antonio Williams, the big-time wide receiver from Dutch Fork, is expected to be in town. Or he's obviously always in town, but is expected to be on his official visit that particular weekend. You know, it's that atmosphere that night. So that's going to be the first time that I really look at Shane, because say what you want, they should win the first 2 games. Hope says, and I don't. This is the interesting thing about this season too, and expectations. Hope says, well, I know what to expect about the season. I don't. I really don't know what to expect. There are games that I know South Carolina is outmatched in. Georgia, A&M, Clemson, in particular. There are games that I know South Carolina should win. Eastern Illinois, Troy, East Carolina. But then there's several that I'm not real sure what it's going to be an interesting thing, because I'm not as down on the roster as some people. And I put this on Twitter last night because Shane was talking about the offensive defensive line. They got to play up to it. They've got to live up to the recruiting hype. I know that's exactly what it is, but you've got 2 guys who are former 5-stars who could have gone anywhere in the country that should start on your defensive line. You got a guy in Ngbare who some people on mock drafts are projecting as a potential first-round pick. He's got to live up to it. They got to live up to the potential. But there are some players there. You've got a 1,000-yard rusher. He mentioned that yesterday. A 1,000-yard rusher on a 2-8 team that couldn't throw the football. There are quality pieces. This program is they're not an 8 or 9. They're not an 8 or 9 win program. They're also not a 3 or 4 win program like some are projecting. I'm fascinated to see what they're going to be this year.
They're probably a 4 to 6 win program. I mean, they could be a 4-win program. Would that be shocking to anyone? That would be
good.
Hitting their over, right?
No, 4.8. You got to get to 5. I guess I don't know.
4.8 is not an over under.
Check it in total. That's what ESPN.
That's the
okay.
What did Vegas put? Was it 3.5?
4.5. I thought it was 4.5. I thought it was 4.5. I could be wrong.
Okay.
No, but Bill, Patrick's not saying he knows what the program is. He's just saying that having a less than ideal season is part of college football. And I think
3.5 wins, by the way.
3.5, according to which book is that out in Vegas?
This is the CBS Sports from June 22nd.
Gotcha.
William Hill.
I'm sorry, William Hill. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, that is with the 3 non-conference games being Eastern Illinois, East Carolina, Troy, and then Vanderbilt. So clearly the national reputation isn't that those are 4 games. And we've seen through certain years and certain times in South Carolina football where some non-conference opponents that come in, certainly not very highly touted, have pulled off upsets. And Bill, I think it just depends on your personality, maybe exactly how you're looking at this thing. For you say a lot of unknowns. I think a lot of people already convinced themselves that the ceiling's not very high for the roster that they're looking at because of what they've seen before. For a guy who comes at it more from a recruiting standpoint, or more from a possibility that this coaching staff can get more out of these exact same players than the previous one. Yeah, I can understand all the unknowns, but I tend to say I'm with Patrick. I think 3 to 7 is kind of the variant of this year's Gamecock football team. 3 wins to 7 wins somewhere.
Well, I think Patrick said 4 to 6 because I'm with you on 3 to 7. Although that's a huge gap, right? Like 3 to 7 is a massive gap. But what do you think I get it, both of them are question marks. But if you had to pick one or the other, what is your bigger question mark? The coaching staff, because Marcus Satterfield's an unknown. There's no denying that. Clayton White comes from Western Kentucky. And while at least he was a defensive coordinator there, we know it's different going against offenses in the SEC. The rest of the coaching staff, outside of Justin Stepp and Torian Gray, are guys that we know very little about and we're learning. So what is the bigger unknown to you two? Is it the roster situation or is it the coaching staff? And they're both unknowns. I'll say that again. They're both unknowns. But if you had to pick one, you say, man, I know less about the coaching staff or less about the roster?
The coaching staff.
Yeah, agreed with Patrick.
Yeah, because we've seen the players play before.
And yeah, I understand we haven't seen all of them play, right? But I feel like you always have a question. At least I always have a question mark with guys being able to live up to recruiting hype, right? I don't know what that percentage is, the success rate, 50%, somewhere in there. Even a 4-star guys turn out to be good college players. So I'm used to that, as opposed, especially to South Carolina, to relatively proven head coaches. Say what you will about Will Muschamp, but he was proven in the SEC. I think that was why Gamecock fans didn't like the hire to begin with, because it didn't work out at Florida. Steve Spurrier, obviously, with a track record, and Lou Holtz. But this goes all the way back to the Brad Scott era, where you have the first-time head coach for Gamecock football since then. And then not having a proven guy. You know, it'd be different, Bill, if Mike Bobo had decided to stay at South Carolina, where you feel like, hey, you know, Harris is going to continue to run the football and South Carolina's offense. You have a pretty good idea what it's going to look like. But now, new coordinator, no SEC experience, no big-time college coordinating experience with either coordinator, and then other guys on the staff who are certainly not SEC retreads for the most part. I think that's why you got to go to the coaching staff from that perspective, which I don't think is a bad thing for this Gamecock fan base, coming off of very few question marks and the previous coaching staff and Will Muschamp having tons of SEC experience, and it obviously didn't work out. We'll continue to discuss, let you hear a little bit more from Shane Beamer when we come back. Heath Klein due to join us as well, live from Birmingham, as he covers days in the first person, the eyewitness accounts coming up. You're listening to the early game. It's 107.5. Man, what a great time to be a sports fan, especially a college football fan, as we sit here and we can discuss about the season and what it will be, what it will look like. What I can tell you right now, we don't have a lot of certainties when it comes to college football, especially Gamecock football. There are a lot of question marks. I can tell you for certain right now, the housing industry absolutely on fire. Now is a good time to give Buford Lending a call. 843-524-2404. Benji Getzi and his team with nearly 25 years of experience. And no matter what your situation is, maybe you're looking just to refinance, knowing that numbers are great right now. Well, I can tell you from firsthand experience, the numbers that Buford Lending showed me, absolutely outstanding when it comes to the monthly rate and what you will pay per month compared to what you might be paying, what I was paying. It's pretty mind-blowing. Also, if you're looking to expand, get a new house, maybe a second home right now, VA loans, conventional construction, whatever you're looking for, Benji Getzi and his team at Buford Lending have done that, and they are confident they can get you the best deal. Benji encourages you to give other lenders a call as well and then compare. He's confident that he and his team can get you the best deal, use their experience and what they do to find the best deals out there. He's confident that his numbers will look the best for you and set your family up in the best situation. So give him a call. That's Buford Lending, 843-524-2404. Gonna give a call here.
Is Tim on the phone?
Yeah, he said he's calling Heath.
I really can't believe, like you said, the over-under was 3.5.
Yeah.
Jen Heath's gonna hop on with us. Sorry about the audio. Hop on. Is there an access number to give him? Or do you just want him to call, Jim?
I was trying to see if I had an opportunity to put him anywhere. Maybe have him try 2. I just had that dialed that in. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Josh doing our best here with the audio, man.
Are y'all getting bad feedback on the computer, or is that because I haven't had a problem all morning with my computer? Like, I've never heard any major issues. That's why I just wonder.
I haven't had tons of it.
I had that one. I know what somebody was talking about, that buzzing, that my computer got hot or something, and like a little fan in the back kicked on. That's what I was doing one time. So I know that was that buzzing, but in terms of like feedback or issues with the audio on the computer, I haven't had any problems.
I think the program audio that I switch over to when we play Beamer cuts, I don't think that's coming in as well as it has typically.
Gotcha.
Do you have Heath? Awesome.
Yep, I have him.
A break here by 47 at the absolute latest.
All right, he's here and ready.
Let's do one more Beamer coming back in here, Jim.
Okay, what you looking for?
Let's do number 4.
All right, straight in.
Tight end position is near and dear to me, something that I've coached for the last 5 years. In my career, we are always going to utilize the tight end. Every donor or booster club event that I go to, that's the one question I get asked. Are you going to throw the tight end? We are going to throw to the tight end. We want the premier tight ends in America, and that's the way that we're recruiting right now as well. Those guys as well. We've utilized those guys in the past when I've been at Oklahoma, and we will continue to.
That's Shane Beamer from the podium, probably the comment that got the most play.
At least as it pertains to Gamecock fans, the reference there to Oscar Delp, one of the best tight ends in the country, seems like it's going to be down to his native Georgia or South Carolina in his decision. Our own Heath Klein out in Birmingham at SEC Media Days, day number 2, kicking off not too long from now. Heath, wondering what stuck out to you in day number 1. Was it just the fact that you can actually be amongst other people and coaches and athletes and the whole thing, and look at them eye to eye for the first time in a year plus?
That game, but I've talked to Shane Beamer on the radio. I've talked to Shane Beamer on the phone, but it was the first time I had physically in person to Shane Beamer since he got here, and that's multiply that by 1,000 basically, or however many people there are here, and that's kind of how it is. And it is really nice to, while things are reduced. Again, normally more people here. Every radio station that is here has more people here maybe do for this. But it is still as normal a college football process as we have had since this thing began. Literally, the last thing that I covered in a normal setting, Greg Sankey saying, okay, well, we're done here at the SEC basketball. So for the first thing to get to cover in a normal setting again, to be Greg Sankey saying, well, the SEC media days was the perfect bookend yesterday.
He's Heath Klein, live from Birmingham, SEC Media Days. What about as it pertains to South Carolina and its appearance yesterday? Nick Muse, JJ Enikbare, and Shane Beamer making his debut at SEC Media Days as a head coach at all.
Yeah, I think all the guys do. One thing that I hate, you know this, Tim, because you covered South Carolina for a long time. It used to be we got time with the kids away from the podium. And the trend has just been not a South Carolina thing. It's just in general been a trend. I think places to say, oh, let's reduce the amount of exposure for guys. Let's put them on the podium. Let's just have everybody all get to see them all the time. And that's fine in the sense that it's fair, but what it's not good for is getting to actually get a feel for a kid's personality, get a chance to know them a little bit. It's different talking to somebody one-on-one than it is talking to somebody when they're at a podium looking out at 50 people. Some kids are way more comfortable one-on-one when they don't have a camera in their face. And so just yesterday, getting to talk to those guys, you know, both very impressive. I thought they certainly did well. And Shane Beamer, there's no reason to think he wouldn't be very comfortable in this environment, but there's a lot of people who did not know much of anything about Shane Beamer beyond the very basics. These are the schools he coached at. His dad was Frank Beamer, hasn't been a coordinator. Okay, you know, who is this guy, basically? You know, why is he a head coach? And I think after yesterday, a whole bunch of people came away saying, okay, I get it now. I'm not sure I believe it will work, but I at least come a lot closer to understanding why there is someone who is here as a head coach who had not previously had that classic coordinator or head coach resume, what South Carolina people see. I at least get that now. And I think that's really the only thing you can accomplish before you get on the field. He accomplished it yesterday.
He's Heath Klein, live in Birmingham from SEC Media Days, day number 2, kicking off today after South Carolina taking part in day number 1. Anything stick out to you from the other two teams, Ed Orgeron and LSU, and Florida's Dan Mullen?
Yeah, didn't spend a lot with Orgeron yesterday just because he's not on the Gamecock schedule and obviously was really busy chasing South Carolina stuff. But I think the fact that a guy who won a national title a year ago did not get to have that sort of victory moment of walking in, you know, y'all didn't think I could coach, no? Well, now it's back to, people still don't think you can coach. People think you had a great quarterback and a great coordinator, and your Chizik 2.0 basically is now the label that he has to wear. And remember, Chizik won a national title and was fired 2 years later. Well, this will be year 2. So there's definitely, I think, an interesting situation for Orgeron. He was even asked in the press conference, basically, hey, LSU's been sort of a perpetual tire fire the last few months. You were even named as part of it. Hey, how about that, dude? And, it's just not the vibe you normally get when you're talking about a national championship coach. So we'll see. We'll see kind of how his season plays out. But that guy, I think, maybe operates better with an edge. He has plenty of incentive to have one. And Mullen is always really upbeat. But the thing about Mullen being all upbeat is you just don't know whether or not they've got the answers on the offensive side of the ball, and can they fix the defense? You know, there's certainly reason to believe the defense will be better just by virtue of different practicing and techniques that they didn't use last year. But still, that offense carried that team. That offense was elite. If that defense does not stiffen up a bunch, that offense is going to have to be asked to do some things really fast that they may not be ready to do. And they got Alabama week 3. And that's the thing to me, Tim, that's fascinating about that team is Florida normally has been able to kind of head into the year. They typically beat Tennessee early. They typically have gotten off to a decent start. How do they handle it if they find themselves 0-1 after Bama in week 3, which I think most of us believe is the likeliest outcome, even though it's in Gainesville? At that point, if you lose to Georgia, there's no way you're getting anywhere that you want to go. So how do they handle being under that pressure that you have to be perfect if you lose to Alabama in week 3? I just think that can really change the tone of somebody's season. And I'm interested to see how they handle that. But some people think Emory Jones is going to be great, and some people are really doubting, basically saying if he was that great, he wouldn't have let Kyle Trask ever get on the field in the first place. And we're going to know pretty early. Can he, in some ways, it's kind of like the Doty story. Okay, we think he's mobile. We think he's got some good assets. Can he reliably show he is a downfield passer of the football? And if the question is yes, then for both schools, you're going to feel pretty good about what you got at quarterback. But if it's not, then in Florida's case, will they make a move to Richardson behind him? That's going to be one of those big early stories to follow there.
Also, how you are handling SEC Media Days without Bill and Jay. There's, I believe, Bill, you referred to that as the SEC Media Day Wolfpack, I think.
Yeah. I know Heath is probably you probably had dinner alone last night. You looking around for me to say something stupid or do something stupid, and I'm not there to provide entertainment for you. I'm sure that it's been a much different environment through day one.
It's a weird situation. It is. And, last night on top of everything else, you had heavy storms and flash flood warnings around here. So it definitely wasn't a normal vibe. But that's the thing, normally on Monday nights, there's actually a reception afterwards after everybody's done with day one. There's not that this year. And check this out, guys. They gave all the media members, I guess maybe as their way of saying, well, since we're not doing some of the things we normally do, they gave all the media members $30 video game cards to Dave & Buster's.
Okay.
You guys know the media makeup of this. How many dudes you think off the Alabama beat are going to go over there and get them some Dave & Buster's on? Mm-hmm. I mean,
I was at Dave & Buster's last week and my power card's empty.
Wait a minute, hold on. Just out of curiosity, are all the Alabama media members related to Ed Orgeron? Is that what we just got? No,
that Ed Orgeron is this. You got to be more gravelly for Ed Orgeron. You got to be gravelly. No, but I mean, seriously, some of these guys, it's like you're talking about dudes that haven't played a video game since Pong, and we just gave them $30 to go to Dave & Buster's. All right, maybe that could be an SEC Network documentary. I would actually watch that if they tracked, some of the crew off of some of these. It's not just Alabama. There's more Bama people here than there are from a lot of places, just because it's easier. But yeah, let's follow some of the Kentucky guys and see them go to Dave & Buster's.
Someone who will pay $10 for the $30 Dave & Buster's cards.
Patrick's making the deal.
Bring back. Start round them up. I'll Venmo.
I'll see what I can do for you, Patrick. Because I honestly, if anything, I don't know if they're good outside Birmingham, but if they are, I'm guessing some grandkids are going to get these when people get home. It was just a very interesting choice by the SEC. They don't have to give us anything.
It just was a really interesting choice of thing being provided and people being provided too. Where you say, all right, that's interesting. We'll see how that looks.
Go dominate Papa Shot a little later on today. I know you got some work to do. George is up first today on day number 2. They see Klein live from SEC Media Days. We'll have his show from 4 to 7. I'm sure we'll join the afternoon guys a little bit before then as well. Working hard. We appreciate it, Heath.
Yeah, and for the record, we have the
supervisor of officials at 4:15 today.
So we'll always getting a chance to try and pick their brain about what's going on with the conference. But we'll talk to you guys later on.
Sounds good. Heath Klein, live SEC Media Day coverage, sponsored by AAA Heating and Air from Birmingham, Alabama. We have a dramatic conclusion to the program coming up next. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is Southern Basketball Coach Sean Stevens. Now you're listening to the home of the Gamecocks. WNTV 107.5 The Game.
Weather report today is going to be rainy. The high is going to be probably mid-70s. But you know what's going to happen here in South Carolina? The heat is going to come back. The humidity is going to come back. It is going to be steamy in the month of August and definitely in September. So my question to you is, your air conditioner working properly? If not, don't miss a chance to go ahead and call AAA Heating and Air and get them to your house. You don't want to do it when it's already back into the 90s. Just get them out and let them do an inspection today or tomorrow, maybe this week. But get them out and let Roy and Dana Finley's team work to make sure your air conditioner is working properly. 803-677-1500. If there's an issue, don't worry about it. We're gonna work with you. They're gonna help you out. First thing they'll do is offer you a $1,500 rebate to buy back your old unit, get that thing out of there. Then they're going to work with you. No money down, no 0% financing on a brand new unit. That's helping you out, making sure you're not busting your wallet, trying to keep your house nice and cool or warm during the winter. And on top of all that, when you finally get that new heating and air unit in, they offer a 15-year parts and labor warranty. You can't top it. just give AAA Heating and Air a call. Get them out to your house today and let them do the inspection. 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Took everything I had, Bill, not to call for the thunder and the lightning when he was talking about bad weather. I figured maybe we can end the show with it.
I say we just save that for his Thursday appearance.
I didn't know we were going to get Heath Klein impersonator this morning.
Oh, he loves that Ed Orgeron every chance he gets. I think he feels comfortable with that one. He feels that that's his go-to. Not many other impressions, but he knows he can nail that one out of the park.
Dude, that'd be a lot of air hockey for me at Dave & Buster's.
$30 gift card. They did something similar 2 years ago, because I know we didn't go to that. We didn't go to the little Dave & Buster's thing. I'm sure a bunch of those media nerds missed the cubed ham and cheese tray that they gave at the reception last night. All right. Oh, goodness.
All right, we got babies and dogs now.
Excellent. That's the dramatic conclusion.
Yeah, I agree, Mark. Yeah, y'all didn't see it, but I don't think you saw it. You might have saw a commotion, or you might not have been looking. But in the background behind me, right as we started with Heath, the geese went crazy because someone let their dog out. And he went just trotting by, and so there was about 10 geese that just flew out into the water to get away.
Oh my gosh!
And I heard the commotion, and so it caught me off guard.
Wild Kingdom.
It's been quite the show.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember being scared by my neighbor in the beginning who brought peaches. Tim, I don't think you were around for that portion.
No.
Right.
Peach delivery.
Caught me a little off guard. Oh boy.
So we'll be working with about a minute when you come back.
Okay, and I got another keyword contest I need to read during it as well.
$30 will get you a lot more than 20 minutes of Dave & Buster's.
Depends how you use it, man. Not with my 8-year-old. You can blow through that thing in no time.
I was there 2 weeks ago.
Well, I believe you.
We win because they'll like double up your payment too. You can get a lot of points with that. Played head to head for probably half an hour.
Hey, would love to hook you up if you like the Foo Fighters. They're going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Give you a chance to win a trip there to see it in person with a pair of tickets, 2-night hotel stay. Grab a pair of passes to see the Foo Fighters officially become rock royalty at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Text the national keyword ROLL now to 64636. That's 64636. The word ROLL, ROLL, and you'll have a chance to see those Foo Fighters induction ceremony at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame live. Birmingham SEC Media Days, very similar type vibe in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And talk to the rock and roller himself, Heath Klein. What a treat it was this morning, Bill.
What happened last night over there?
Hold on, Jen. Enjoyed recapping Shane Beamer's appearance. We'll continue to do that as we roll through the week. And Got more SEC Media Day fun coming up all day for you here on 107.5 The Game.
This is Gamecock Athletics Director Ray Tanner, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game.
Yep, that's it. Just got to wrap it up. Thanks for hanging with us here on the live stream, guys. I think got most of the technical issues on my end worked out anyway, so should be joining you from the porch again tomorrow.
Sweet.
It looks like it's probably a lot prettier and looks a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Exactly, Hope. You too. See you guys tomorrow.